It's time for coffee and Cursey Words. Happy Tuesday. So glad to be back with you all. I have my jug of coffee. I have a jug of coffee. It's a snow day here, so we'll see how that plays out. And I have a ton of stuff on deck for you guys today. We have lots to talk about. Hey, that's not helpful, computer. Shush. Me talking back at me. We have lots on deck today. So with that, we're going to do a very short, quick bits, and then get into Cardi B and Tasha K, and then the new Rust lawsuit that's been filed, because there is so much going on in law today. I hope you all are well. I hope this finds you well wherever you are. I know we have a lot of our international crew on Tuesdays, so let me know where you're coming in from and what you're drinking. For me this morning, it is bulletproof coffee, and we'll just get into it. I see the text crew all up in the chat. I see y'all dropping the emojis. Thank you, text crew. If you are wondering what the text crew is and you're in North America, you can go to textemily.com from your mobile device and join the text crew, because I see the text crew dropping those emojis in the chat. All right, shall we go? Shall we go? We should. We should just get started. We should just get started. We should just get started by drinking coffee. Hey there. If we haven't met yet, I'm Emily D. Baker, the badass lawyer and everyone's favorite legal commentator. I'm the host of The Emily Show, and I break down the legal shit behind the news and pop culture stories we all want to talk about. I have been a licensed attorney for over 15 years, but this is not legal advice. I should warn you, I'm a big fan of the Cursey Words. This channel is where the law nerds unite to talk about facts, not fuckery. So I've seen a number of you in the chat already asking if I am going to talk about Prince Andrew. That is on the podcast for this week. So the Emily Show drops on all of your favorite podcasting apps on Wednesdays, and then the premiere of the video will be up on YouTube. Sometimes those are a little delayed based on me, based on moi. So I will always send out notifications on all the social media platforms when that premiere is going live, and then I will be in the chat with you. Members only is not still on. It is set to subscribers. So thank you for checking in. As we get into topics, as always, for those of you that are here for the first time, you can, or catching it live for the first time, you can pop a 1 in the chat for your first time. All of the Leonards will welcome you and say, hello, fellow Leonard. And with that, I get to questions after I cover all of the topics. So if you put questions in the chat, know that you are talking to the chat, which is fine. You are welcome to chat, but I will not see them until I am done, because otherwise I will get distracted and never come back. And then I won't finish what I was going to talk about, and then I'll log off and be like, I meant to talk about this, and it will just drive me bananas. So I found that that works best for me while streaming, to try to keep our topics together. Also, it helps for the replay crew. Love you, like love the replay crew, because it makes it easier for me to timestamp the topics down below for the replay crew. So all of those are the reasons that we do topics and then questions. I'm sure there will be questions. And today we're talking about some polarizing individuals in the social media space. So the same rules always apply, that we are courteous to all and we talk about the facts, and we don't wish ill or harm on anyone. We don't name call. That is just the chat rules, because it makes the chat a place to have discussion. So we will just have discussion. We should get to quick bits first. We'll do quick bits first, and then we will get to Cardi B and Tasha K, because I think that's what you guys are probably most interested in today. Though maybe the Rust lawsuit, maybe I should put up a poll. Maybe I should ask, but then I have to go put up a poll, and that feels like a lot of work. So we should just do quick bits, and then we'll just do those in that order, unless I totally forget, and then we'll switch order. No, I'm kidding. We won't switch order today. We will do quick bits in order. And I just have to make note of my timestamp so I can timestamp it later. All right, let's go. Quick bits. I love quick bits. Quick bits are really when we've just got a few things that have happened around the interwebs that I want to talk about that we haven't gotten all, that we're not doing a deep dive into or don't need a deep dive. They just need to be discussed because they are quick bits. So today, the first thing I've been watching, and if you guys watched me on Instagram live over the weekend, I did some unboxing. I've got some new little goodies. I've got Cuthbert. He's over there, but you can't see him because my camera angle changed. So I'm gonna have to rearrange and put him probably down here. So we did some of the mail time, and I also talked about what's going on with Pokimain in the streaming space. And is it Jidon, who hate rated her stream and then got banned from Twitch for 14 days and then got banned from Twitch for a permaban for violating TOS, which I suppose is their right. I'm not super familiar with the TOS on Twitch. What I am familiar with is when a female creator says anything and everybody's like, ugh, why is she doing this? Look, here's my thoughts. If somebody hadn't hate rated her stream, she wouldn't have had to say shit. She didn't bring it on herself. So for all the content creators that are like, well, Pokey's being this and that, she didn't do it. She didn't bring it on herself. She's allowed to respond how she responds. She didn't bring it up. She didn't start it. She didn't do anything. It was brought to her by somebody else's actions. So she's allowed to speak up about it. She's allowed to say this isn't okay. She's allowed to say this isn't right for me. And people shouldn't just expect that she's going to forgive anyone she doesn't have to, and that she's not going to talk about it. She's allowed to talk about it. She's allowed to share her experience. And so it really frustrates me to see people being like, well, Pokimain shouldn't do this and Pokimain shouldn't do this. Someone shouldn't raid her stream, and then she wouldn't have had to say shit. So I don't have a lot of understanding again of the Twitch rules. So I don't know if violating TOS in that way is what caused the permaban, or if it was the behavior that went on after the TOS violation, because the creator didn't just hate raid her chat. And these are for the chat, these are Twitch streamers that we're talking about. And Pokimain is one of the most prominent female gaming streamers. It is I would imagine not an easy task to be one of a very few female gaming streamers and have people constantly criticizing you for anything that you do. But with this as a creator, the creator that rated her stream doesn't seem to be a friend, doesn't seem to be an acquaintance, seemed to be somebody who was trying to, from my opinion, gain some clout by rating her stream and pulling a prank. Well, you are not entitled to someone else's space. You are not entitled to their audience or their stream. And it's a violation of TOS. Whether that is what caused him to be permanently banned or whether it was the behavior afterwards, but the behavior afterwards was equally disgusting. And while there was an apology for it, I don't know if Twitch has a creator code of conduct the way that YouTube does, where things that you do off stream and off platform can also impact those decisions. But he went after Pokimain on another Twitch stream, went after her personal life, graphically discussed her adult personal relations with her boyfriend, which is when you try to use someone's either adult life or personal relations against them, it's next level aggressive. It's just not okay. So then went off on Twitter and then was like, oh, Pokimain unban me. I don't think Pokimain has the keys to the Twitch castle. And she's like, permaban. She said this isn't okay. She spoke up about it being kind of fucked. And if a creator hadn't done that to her, she wouldn't have had to speak up. So I'm not super empathetic to someone and the other creators just complaining that she caused this, because at the end of the day, she didn't cause anything. She responded to actions of others, which if they hadn't done it, she wouldn't have had to respond to. So that is my thought on Pokimain. I think this doesn't just apply to female creators. I think that male creators should be able to stand their ground too. And I think too often male creators are told to laugh it off or joke it off, or why can't you be more chill? People are allowed to have their boundaries and say what's not okay for them. They don't have to be chill about it if you violate a boundary with them. And this is violating TOS as well. So that is how I feel about the Pokimain situation. That is how I feel about those who are complaining that she's being, oh, she's the problem. Oh, okay, okay. Well, this was brought to her doorstep because somebody chose to do this to her. She's not the problem for speaking up. The person who initiated the action is the person who's the problem. Just that's just how that is. So, whether it should be a 14-day suspension or a permanent suspension, I don't know. I don't know how Twitch normally deals with those things. I just don't. Let's go on to a happier topic. Just kidding. Student loans. Let's talk about student loans. Are you ready to talk about student loans? We should do that. Yeah, why? Because there has been a massive settlement with student loan company Navient, Navient. Let's go to this article from USA Today. I know student loans are a hot button topic. Here's what I think. So let us talk about it. Here's what I think about the student loans being canceled. One, it was a settlement. Thousands of student loans to be canceled in $1.85 billion Navient settlement. Many more borrowers can expect $260. I don't know. Do any of you have student loans that are $260? Because I sure don't. My student loans were exorbitant. But this is dealing with how the student loans were dealt with if they went into forbearance. I don't know how much $260 is going to help anyone with student loans. I don't know anyone who's got a student loan for $260. Thousands of student loan borrowers are expected to receive long-sought debt relief through a $1.85 billion consent judgment announced on Thursday with Navient, one of the nation's largest student loan companies. If approved by a federal court, the federal court can still say, no, this deal's not cool. If approved by a federal court, the agreement between the Delaware-based company and attorneys general for 39 states and the District of Columbia would resolve state allegations that Navient used unfair, deceptive, and abusive student loan servicing practices in originating predatory loans. They're not the only ones. There are lots of predatory practices in the student loan. I feel like the student loan bubble has to burst the way the housing bubble burst when we had the Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac burst with some of those predatory lending practices. I think that's coming. The agreement would cancel the outstanding student loan balances of roughly 66,000 borrowers with private education loans that were started between 2002 and 2010 when Navient was known as Sallie Mae. So if you have these aren't federal loans, but private student loans, you may be part of this settlement if you took out loans between 2002 and 2010. Additionally, 350,000 federal student loan borrowers are expected to receive $260 from a $95 million restitution payment. The borrowers who struggled to repay were placed in forbearance programs that plunged them into deeper debt rather than less costly income-based payment plans. Oh, it's like the student loan servicer did what was in their best interest. I'm shocked. It's like students coming out of college didn't know to ask to be in a different type of payment plan because they don't know. Of course they don't know. Ugh. Most of these students had been enrolled in for-profit education institutions such as Corinthian colleges and ITT technical institutes, which closed when the federal government stopped lending at the schools. What happened to all the students that were in the middle of their education and weren't able to finish because those schools closed? Were they able to get a degree, or did they sink in all that money and not get a degree? Pennsylvania Attorney General Josh Shapiro, who helped lead the state's legal coalition, said the agreement would provide much needed relief to student loan borrowers. Navient repeatedly and deliberately put profits ahead of its borrowers. Shock. I'm shocked. I'm shocked. I'm shocked that businesses would do what's in their best interest. Just a note, businesses tend to do what's in their best interest. I feel that businesses generally thrive when what's in their best interest aligns, and they make it align with what's in their consumers' best interest, because then people um, are more loyal to their business. But, anyway. They repeatedly and deliberately put profits ahead of borrowers. It engaged in deceptive and abusive practices, targeted students who it knew would struggle to pay back loans, and placed an unfair burden on people trying to improve their lives through education. Navient denied any wrongdoing and said the company agreed to the settlement because the state lawsuits began more than 8 years ago and were nowhere near the trial stage. They were like, can we just pay you and be done? The company's decision to resolve these matters, which were based on unfounded claims, allowed us to avoid the additional burden, expense, time, and distraction to prevail in court, said Mark Helene, Navient's chief legal officer. Navient is and has been continually focused on helping student loan borrowers understand and select the right payment plans. Student loan forgiveness, 500,000 people to benefit from the overhaul, some immediately. And this is federal government student loan forgiveness. And then they go on to include the proposed judgment in its attachment from USA Today, if you want to take a look at that. But it's interesting to me that Navient said, yo, it is cheaper for us to settle for 1.85 billion than continue to go to court. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? So, Marty Hufford from the chat said, no degree. My niece's husband was going to ITT and found out they closed when he went there for regularly scheduled class. That's horrible. Just like walk into class and the doors are closed. That's just awful. I'm not going to tangent into the educational crisis and the cost of higher education in the US. That is possibly not a topic for another day, because I am definitely not an expert in what has happened. I just know what I've watched in my lifetime. And what I've watched is college go from being fairly expensive to being sell a kidney on the black market expensive. And it seems that if we are a country where people, and it is believed that people can and are able to lift themselves up through education, how can you make education something that holds them beholden to jobs and in debt for the rest of their lives? I have questions. I have questions. I have questions. Anyway, that is maybe a ponderance for another day, but it is definitely not an expert in that, but it is a growing problem. And even those I know that work in academia aren't super happy in academia because they see the stress of the students. So that I have a lot of thoughts. But if you had a Navient loan between that period of time, I would start to figure out if you qualify in this. Go to USA Today. I will put the link down below. I'm making a note so I don't forget to do it. Go to USA Today, take a look at the judgment. You can contact the state's attorney general in your area. There should be a link generally for a Navient settlement where you can go and sign up and find out. But absolutely take a look and see if this could positively impact you if you have been if you have taken out loans with Navient and are part of this settlement. I'm sure other settlements will come. So with that, it is time to talk about the Jen Shah of it all. I need to pull up the right document. Where is my document? Here's what I want to do. Well, let me swoop. Let me swoop, and then we'll talk about Jen Shah. Swoop, 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 swoop. But before we talk about Jen Shah, have I reminded you to go ahead and do the likey, subscribey things? There's over 2,000 of you watching. We are very close to binging. So if you would like to subscribe, that would be great. That would be fantastic. It's a great way to support the channel, great way to support me. And, sometimes those numbers mean something to the folks at YouTube who get to decide who sees my content and who doesn't. So look, YouTube, don't be mad. All right, let me find, where are my conditions of release? There they are. Have any of you watched this week's Real Housewives of Salt Lake City? I'm sure some of you have. You can just go ahead and put a snowflake in the chat if you have watched Real Housewives of Salt Lake City this week. Here's why. If you haven't and you're just following the Jen Shah criminal case, totally fine. Let me tell you what happened on Real Housewives of Salt Lake City this week. Jen Shah attempted to physically assault one of the other members of the cast and was literally held back on more than one occasion. She seemed to drink the entire day, which I am not going to judge you for having a day drink meltdown. It is a fundamental core principle of housewives that people have a day drink, meltdown. But Jen Shah is out on bond and there are conditions of her release. So my phone started blowing up on Sunday about Jen's behavior on the show. Jen is trying to go hands on with Lisa Barlow. Jen is screaming at people. Jen is intoxicated. Is she allowed to drink? Is she allowed to go hands on? What is she and is she not allowed to do based on her conditions of release? Because she is pending a very serious criminal trial in New York. So let's talk about Jen Shah's release. Oh, wait, I had notes from the show. Let me make sure I covered my notes from the show. Here's how I'm feeling about Salt Lake City. Meredith, I think, is in a good place to keep opting out. And Meredith is like, I'm walking away. Though, Meredith, when you walk away, just stay walked away. Though I realize there's probably pressure from production, and I've never been on a show like this. I don't know what production is saying behind the scenes. All of my knowledge of this stuff comes from literally Dave Quinn's book, talking to Zach Peter, talking to Up and Adam, talking to Sarah Galley, talking to, Kate Casey and others. It all comes from the amazing Bravo watchers and commentators. I don't know. But when Meredith is like, I'm out, I'm done, is production back there going, just go back out there, Meredith. It's going to be fine. She'll hear you. She's calm. Just go back out there. Is there that encouragement? Maybe. I don't know. Then you get into, they take the Sprinter van from hell. Then you get Jen literally throwing champagne at Lisa Barlow, but not like a good old Real Housewives of Orange County Tamra hurling a drink in somebody's face. But it was a like a sniper from the side kind of champagne throw. Then you got the whole cast talking about, did Meredith and or Mary have anything to do with the criminal charges that are brought against her with the indictment? I'm here to talk about that too. And then all the drinking. And then the end of it, the who's calling who a fraud, love you, baby, bye, was kind of an iconic Housewives moment. But all in all, from looking at Housewives of Salt Lake City this year, Heather is winning my heart. She has risen as my favorite housewife. Heather sitting in the Sprinter van, putting on her sunglasses and watching everyone argue was iconic. It was. She's like, I'm just going to watch. I'm going to cover up my face so you can't see what I'm thinking. And I'm just going to watch. I love Heather. I think she's great. But here's the thing. The women fueling this preposterous idea that other housewives somehow got Jen indicted is just the most ridiculous shit ever with the information we know now. Now, with the information they knew then, even then, if they could have dug into, watch my content, ladies. I'm here for you. Housewives, I'm here to bring you the facts, not the fuckery. I'm here for you. I'll tell you what the legal, you don't need to call 7 lawyers. You can just come watch the one on the internet talking about all this shit. But when you look at the past indictments and you look at the extensiveness of this case, it's very clear to me that Meredith and Mary are completely irrelevant to, the federal government, to the Department of Homeland Security, to the AUSAs. The reason Jen Shah got indicted, it is still my belief and suspicion. The reason that she got indicted after the other defendants is because I believe when other defendants pled, they might have had a little something something to say about Jen Shah. Because Jen Shah's indictment came about 2 months after 2 plea deals were made for other defendants. That's enough time to track down whatever leads they gave, to see if those leads pan out, to take those leads to a grand jury and to indict Jen Shah. She got dimed out by co-defendants. She did not get dimed out by co-housewives. So she's going to try to run around and, bark like an angry dog in a corner at everybody. And I see Jen is just lashing out at everyone. I'm sure she's under tremendous stress, but she is lashing out at everyone. And those are not the people that are doing this to her. The people that she was in business in are likely the people that are doing this to her. And again, they're not really doing it to her because she did the things. You can't indict someone for doing the things. I guess I shouldn't say that. Sometimes you can indict someone for doing the things if they didn't do the things, and those things tend to resolve in not guilty verdicts. But Jen's behavior here, as spelled out in all the court documents, was an active participant in these schemes. Jen knows this. Jen was investigated by the FTC. The FTC deposed Jen. You already had federal officers and the federal government looking into Jen Shah's businesses. And do you know what Jen Shah's response to that was back in 2016? It wasn't to say, I shouldn't be doing this anymore. It was to get better at hiding it. She moved, and this is all from court documents. This is not Emily's speculation. The court documents say that she moved from texting everybody to using a Telegram app. Telegram text messages don't show up on your cell phone plan. You don't see who people are talking to. It's encrypted like WhatsApp and can be deleted. And then they started a new scheme of how they were registering the businesses and what state they were registering the businesses in, states like Wyoming, where you don't have to say who the person is that owns the business. So they moved the way they were doing it to get better at hiding it, not to stop doing business. How are your co-stars involved in any of that? They're not. So Jen Shah knew. Jen Shah's lashing out. I understand why Jen Shah's lashing out. Jen Shah has her back against a wall. Look, I'm sure as a mom, Jen Shah is feeling all of the stress, but also, these were her actions. She chose to continue doing this. I think if Jen Shah had stopped doing this in 2016, we wouldn't be here now. Even though this indictment goes back before 2016, I suspect that we wouldn't be here now. So Jen's going to keep deflecting. Let's take a look again at Jen's terms of release, shall we? Let's. Yes. You all are like, yes, let's. The court held an arraignment in this matter today via Skype. I know, I listened in. With all parties participating as set forth on the record, the court imposes the following bail conditions on defendant Jen Shah. I didn't want to rely on my memory and my notes, so I just pulled up the court document. Always the best way to go. Because even if I remember it differently, the court document is correct and I am not. The defendant must not commit any offense in violation of federal, state, local, tribal law while on release in this case. Assaulting a co-star could have been a misdemeanor battery. Like if she had slapped Lisa Barlow, that would have been a violation. Even if it wasn't prosecuted, that would be a violation. So don't go hands-on with your co-stars. You are risking your freedom. You are also risking your bond, which you put up a substantial sum of money. We'll get to the substantial sum of money in a minute. The defendant must immediately advise the court of any change of address or phone number, must appear in court as required, must execute $1 million personal recognizant bond secured by $250,000 worth of cash or property co-signed by 2 financially responsible persons. This means if she gets in trouble, she forfeits the $250,000. Forfeits. That would have been cash or someone else's property, because we know that she doesn't have property in her name from the forfeiture allegations in the indictment. Then the 2 financially responsible persons can also be looped into this. So whoever she found to sign this could also get in trouble. The defendant must maintain or actively seek verifiable employment as approved by the pretrial officer. Cameo counts. When people are like, how is Jen doing Cameo? Cameo counts. If Jen wanted to go do OnlyFans, it counts. She can. And on her Twitter, it shows that she's doing some clothing lines. She's not restricted from that. She just has to let people know what she's doing. Must abide the following restrictions on their personal associations, place of abode, and travel. Maintain residence, do not change without permission, no travel outside the state of Utah without prior permission from the pretrial officer, with the exception of the Southern and Eastern Districts of New York and the District of Columbia for the purpose of attorney meetings and court appearances only. Do you think that they had a conversation with production after the arrest went down and was like, well, any cast trips need to stay within the state of Utah because they're only going on cast trips within the state of Utah. So, yep, no travel outside the U.S. without prior permission, which the court has denied it for other co-defendants. The defendant shall continue pretrial supervision. The defendant shall continue mental health treatment as directed by pretrial services and continue treatment at the Lion Rock facility. Defendant must avoid all contact with named persons who are considered either alleged victims known to the defendant, potential witnesses, and or co-defendants. This is why we have not seen Stuart Smith on this show since she was indicted and arraigned. She cannot associate or have contact with Stuart. There's no way that he can film with her. So all the moments of them filming together came before this moment. The defendant must not use alcohol to excess and must not use or unlawfully possess a narcotic drug or other controlled substances unless prescribed by a licensed medical provider. Prescriptions should be reported to the pretrial officer. So what does use alcohol to excess mean? And will the AUSAs bring this up in court? Like, hey, we saw last week's episode of Real Housewives. Jen seemed excessively intoxicated. What does excess mean? And is that something that the AUSAs will bring up? Maybe. If you are on a national television show and you have bond conditions, what you can't be doing is drinking. I wouldn't drink. I mean, I think most people wouldn't drink at all. Because things can be misconstrued, even having a glass of champagne or a glass of wine. Maybe the most appropriate thing for her to do with the champagne was to throw it. But her castmate said she was drinking all day and the production kept showing her drinking out of a steel water bottle. Do you think that attorneys don't know that alcohol can be put into other containers? I don't think probation is going to love this. I don't think probation is going to love this. So, Natalie is talking about them going to Vail. They went to Vail. If you were me, I don't look at the chat and answer questions. Also me, I totally get distracted by the chat. Jen didn't go to Vail. The Vail trip was planned before this indictment came down because they were in the parking lot waiting to go to Vail as the AUSAs and not AUSAs, as Department of Homeland Security and NYPD were looking for her. So she was supposed to be going to Vail, Colorado, as she got arrested. But since that arrest, this is the first time they've traveled and they just went to Zion, which, by the way, if you've never been to Zion, put it on your list. It's incredible. Maybe not in August is my only advice. Zion is incredibly gorgeous. So the Vail trip was before because they were leaving for Vail as she got arrested. So this came after the Vail trip and she didn't show up on the Vail trip. So I think after that, they were like, oh, we have to stay in the state. And the other housewives are like, these other franchises are going out of the country and we're going within Utah. Well, staycations. Must surrender any passport, not obtain or apply for any new travel documents, not incur new credit charges, or open additional lines of credit without prior permissions. Defendant shall not be employed in any fiduciary capacity. Defendant shall submit her person, residence, office, or vehicle to a conduct. That says conduct. Sorry, conduct by the pretrial officer. Conducted. I can't read today or any day, conducted by the pretrial officer at a reasonable time and in a reasonable manner, based upon reasonable suspicion of contraband or evidence of a violation of a condition of release, like Sunday's episode. Failure to submit to search may be grounds for revocation of her bond, meaning you sit in custody and wait. Defendant shall not dispense cash or assets from any personal or corporate account in excess of $5,000 per transaction, except for legal costs. Without prior consent. Defendant shall not engage in telemarketing, lead generation for telemarketing, or fulfillment for telemarketing, or direct others to engage in telemarketing, lead generation for telemarketing, or fulfillment in telemarketing. The $1 million bond is to be signed by defendant within 24 hours. The signatures of 2 financially responsible individuals will be obtained within 7 days, April 2nd, 2021. So I think Sunday's episode shows that Jen is not only under tremendous stress, but is perhaps not taking her terms of release very seriously, because the feds don't fuck around. And why would you risk being on television showing that you had committed or potentially committed violations of your bond? It shows me that she's not taking this seriously. I think that will come up to bite her. I think we're going to see more of it on next week's episode. I can't stop watching. It's a mess and I love it. And I can't stop watching. If you want to hear me talk more about that, I regularly pop up on your favorite Bravo podcasts, including Andy's Girls, Up and Adam, and No Filter, with Zach talking about this show. But this is a mess. This is a mess. So I wanted to go over Jen's exact conditions because I saw questions and speculation about them. Here's her exact conditions. So. Jen, we're sorry, boo. The AUSAs in New York are not going to take kindly to this season at all. But I gotta say, Heather Gay is pretty epic this season. I'm also watching Real Housewives of Orange County, though a little bit behind. And I've been, I don't know, I was excited for Heather Dubrow to come back, but I'm enjoying, like, I think I just need like Emily and Gina to have their own show. Like kind of an Ethel and Lucy type of show. I think I kind of just need them to have a show because the rest of it is not as fun. I enjoy seeing the two of them together and I enjoy seeing their friendship. So that's how I'm feeling about OC this season. We will talk about more later because we need to get to the wildness that is the Cardi B, Tasha K lawsuit. And then we will be getting to the new Rust lawsuit. Are you ready to talk about Cardi B and Tasha K? I'm ready. Are you ready? We're ready. I'm ready. Are you ready for it? I should timestamp things. Where did my pen go? I have a notepad. I have a notepad so I can timestamp things. Let's see. Let's talk about Cardi B and Tasha K. It's just. If you're not familiar with the Cardi B and Tasha K defamation suit, let me just go over real quickly. Let me pull up the first amended complaint and we will talk briefly about what the amended complaint is. I've done other episodes on this where we've gone into it more in depth, but this is now at the trial stage. They are in trial. They've had some issues with the jury, but they are in trial unless other jurors get dismissed due to Panini concerns and testing positive for things, and then for Omega God, or, you know, I don't know what, Bumblebee, whatever we're calling it at this point. I was going with the Transformers reference and it ran away with me. I apologize, but all things to try to appease the online, you know, automatons that decide that you can't say certain words without getting instantly demonetized and having your video shown to no one. Oh, it doesn't matter. We're already demonetized. Cool. What did I say? YouTube, we're friends. What did I say this time? Yikes. All right. Well, we can just say all the things now. Damage is done. Say the things. So they've already had some juror issues with not just the Panini, but with the, yes, I was trying to think of Optimus Prime. Thank you. With the Optimus Prime variant. That's exactly what I was trying to think of. So with that, They've already had issues with that, but they've had other juror issues too, and we will definitely talk about the other juror issues. This is a very interesting case. Here's why. This is one of the first defamation cases that we have seen go forward against a digital content creator, an independent digital content creator. We've seen defamation suits go forward against the New York Times and all manner of other media and traditional media, but we haven't seen a lot of them. Well, I don't recall any. I'm sure there are some, but I don't recall any off the top of my brain that got to the trial stage with regard to what a YouTuber has said on their YouTube channel about a traditional celebrity. This is a very interesting case. Traditionally, there are difficult things to prove when you are a celebrity or a public figure trying to sue for defamation. Some of this is um, end routed because Cardi B is suing for defamation per se. Cardi B gave very emotional testimony, and we will talk about her testimony. Tasha K's also testified because she was called by Cardi B, the plaintiff's lawyers. So the first person that they called at trial, and we'll go through the minute orders of who's testified. The first thing she did was call Tasha K and authenticate the videos that are being complained about. Is this you saying this? Yes. Okay. Authenticated. And just continuing authenticate it. So this case might give some more clear boundaries to what you can and cannot say. Here's the thing. Truth is a defense. If these things are not true, you don't have a defense. Now, do I think that Tasha K might go the route of saying that Cardi B is, undefamable because of her reputation, because of her music? She might try to go that route with her defense, but I also think that Cardi B is going to be able to say, look, there is a stage persona and a public persona, and then there's me. And you're not talking about my music or my stage persona. You're talking about me as a human and me as a person and intimate matters of my health. So that might not fly. Also, there's intentional infliction of emotional distress claims here, which aren't going to fly with, oh, you can't defame someone who's already putting these things out in their music. That's not going to fly. So let us go to a quick overview of what the allegations are here. Then we will go to a breakdown of the testimony. Then we will go to the minute orders and then a breakdown of the testimony. So this is going to be a case where the jurors are going to watch a lot of YouTube videos. A lot of YouTube videos. I can make this a bit bigger. All right. Let's make this a little larger. We got the large coffee. We got the large lawsuit. Let us go. Let us away. Nature of the case. This is a diversity action. I love that they say it so clearly. Just, you've taken all the questions off of my mind. It is a diversity matter. Diversity means that the parties are diverse in where they live. A diversity action asserting Georgia's state law claims for slander per se, slander, libel per se, and defamation. Look, defamation is the broader category. Slander is spoken, libel is written. So tweets, text tweets, community posts, the text of an Instagram post, those are going to be potentially libel because they are written. Slander is going to be shit that you say. Those all fall under the broader category of defamation. And these are broken down by the state law in Georgia. Not every state breaks slander and libel out into separate causes of action. A lot of the times it's defamation and then slander or libel, and you just talk about what was said. So an interesting note about the way that defamation law works in different states. My brain stopped. You saw it? I go, we're not going to give you any words, Emily. We're going to take a pause and reset. So, as a result of defendant's publication of slanderous and defamatory statements regarding plaintiff that are false, harmful, offensive to plaintiff, as well as an invasion of privacy, false light, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. Plaintiff Cardi B lives in New York. Tasha K, and I'm going to call everyone by their kind of public facing names, Cardi B and Tasha K, is a resident of Georgia. Jurisdiction and venue, they're talking about it being in Georgia. They've already gone to trial, so they're in trial. We don't need to talk about venue. This is just already started. Um, this is the factual background. This is the part where the plaintiff gives their entire ass resume. Plaintiff is a Grammy award-winning musical artist known as Tasha B. Tasha B. Cardi B. Good God, Emily. Today, get it together. They talk about Cardi B's music, that she is a mother to a young girl, that she is well known for her volunteer and philanthropic endeavors. And you guys know this from every suit that we've covered. There's always a resume portion where the plaintiff is saying, Your Honor, this is me. I'm great. And that is their job. And then in the complaint, the answer to the complaint, the defendant shares who they are and what they do and why they are great as well. So this is the complaint. So this is written in the light most favorable to Cardi B. But Cardi B is the one suing, so we have to go over her allegations. They say that, and I'm not going to say upon information and belief for every sentence. This is pled. These are all allegations that are in trial now. So all of these say upon information and belief. I am not going to read that on every single one. They say that Tasha K's real aspirations is to have a career in the entertainment industry as an actress, and that in pursuit of this goal, she promotes herself and her entertainment endeavors through social media, where she has about 10,000 followers. Upon information, oh wait, no, that's Jones. Who is Jones? I just got lost real quick. They are talking about, is there a co-defendant? There was a co-defendant, Star Marie Ebony Jones. We're just talking about Tasha K. I need to go and look at what happened to the co-defendant and see if the co-defendant's still in. But we are just talking about Tasha K. So I'm going to skip the Jones stuff just to Tasha K, because I have not seen anything about the co-defendant, and the co-defendant may have settled. I did not look that deeply. So let us get into the Tasha K allegations. Upon information and belief, Tasha K hosts and publishes videos on YouTube entitled Unwind with Tasha K. The real purpose, they say, of Unwind with Tasha K is to provide a platform for Tasha K to publish and spread malicious rumors, slanderous assertions, and false information about celebrities, including plaintiff, for her personal financial gain. Sounds like other YouTuber lawsuits. This is how these things are pled. Upon information. I said I wasn't going to say it, and then I'm saying it. Tasha K does this to draw various celebrities' social media followers to her site, including plaintiffs' social media followers, so she can increase what she charges for advertising to third parties that advertise with her. They say over the past year, Tasha K targeted Cardi B and began making derogatory statements about Cardi B. While Cardi B was pregnant on or about April 13th, 2018, Tasha K published a video where she stated that as a result of plaintiff's actions, plaintiff's then unborn child may have intellectual disabilities. In the past few months, Tasha K has taken her vitriol one step further by making blatantly defamatory statements regarding plaintiff. Tasha K has become obsessed with slandering and harassing plaintiff. In the last 16 months, Tasha K has put out at least 28 videos regarding plaintiff. So it's going to be interesting if they find, and I'll look and see. I don't think she's sued for the cyber harassment. I don't know if Georgia has a cyber harassment cause of action, but she did sue for intentional infliction of emotional distress. So if 28 videos are, intentional infliction of emotional distress, then what are hundreds of videos? And this is going to be, whenever creators ask for like a guidepost of what's too much, it's like, well, if it's false, it's always a problem. But if it's true, where are the boundaries? And it's interesting because we've seen other lawsuits that allege much, much greater videos. And so will this be some kind of a touching post for how much is too much? Is this too much? Is this, because I feel like everyone's always asking, is this too much? Is that too much? How much is too much? How much is too much? If it's false, it's always too much. You can't lie on people on the internet in a way that is defamatory. Hyperbole, parody is different. Comedy is different. But is 28 too much? It might be to a jury. A jury might be like, who makes this many videos? Tasha K's videos about Cardi B attracts substantially more viewers than most of her other videos, which is part of the reason she has repeatedly targeted Cardi B. They say that Tasha K published in the past few months several videos with more false and defamatory statements about Cardi B, who has become the target of Tasha K's malicious campaign to damage and destroy Cardi B's reputation among her fans and the consuming public. And then it goes in to list the videos and the names of the videos. These are the videos that they are going to play in court. So a September 2nd, 2018 video, that video contained the alleged defamatory statement that plaintiff prostituted for a living. And again, a jury can split hairs on that because Cardi B has talked about dancing and stripping, but the two are not analogous. So you can't say one equals the other. And it'll be interesting to see how Tasha K tries to prove that that is true. They then go on to talk about a September 13th video. And this is regarding the Jones co-defendant. Again, I haven't seen anything about this co-defendant lately. I wonder if that person settled and is out. I will have to look more deeply. This is a September 19th video with Tasha K, where they are alleging that the video has over 3 million views, and only 9 of the approximately 236 videos published prior to the 919 video garnered over 1 million views. It contained false and defamatory statements, and they say that this video, the 919 video, contains the false, malicious, defamatory statement that plaintiff was a prostitute. The 919 video contains the false, malicious, and defamatory statement that was she a drug user? Somebody else saying yes. And then Tasha K saying cocaine and Molly to be specific. Yes. The 919 video also contained the statement from Tasha K asking the Jones individual. She has herpes, and the Jones individual saying yes. The video contains false, malicious, defamatory statements that plaintiff had a herpes outbreak on her mouth in the past. Tasha K, quote, "So you were living with her at the time and she had herpes outbreaks on her mouth?" The Jones co-defendant saying yes. None of the affirmation statements about plaintiff are true. And so then they get into another video. Let's see. This is more about the September 19th video. And again, we've covered this entire complaint. If you guys want to see the whole thing, I am just trying to give the rounded out facts so that as we get to what's going on in trial, it makes sense. Let's see. As recent as January 25th, 2019, Tasha K tweeted that Cardi B had herpes, specifically tweeting at Cardi B. I mean, she's adding Cardi B on Twitter. I didn't see any of this go down in real time. But again, it's like, wow. Tweeting at Cardi B, Tasha K wrote that plaintiff had a confirmed irritated lady parts, kitty cat, puseta, which she followed with hashtag herpes B. So yeah, again, Cardi B only has to win on one of these allegations, but all of them will be taken into consideration by a jury. Currently, they go on to talk more about an April 25th, 2019 YouTube blog saying exclusive Tasha K leaks private call proving lovely T Tasha K planned Starmy interview, and goes into talking about that. We've talked about that. Upon information and belief, Tasha K states, quote, "Here's my thing. All of these strippers are lying," referring to Jones, plaintiff, and a third party. And on and on and on. So the bulk of the counts are that Cardi B was a prostitute and that Cardi B had herpes or has herpes. We already have talked about the medical records that have the court obtained the medical records, reviewed the medical records, put the medical records under seal, and said the medical records do not help the defense, put them under seal, and encouraged the defense to settle, and we are still at trial. So we can extrapolate what those medical records might have said. Because if the medical records confirmed a medical condition of Cardi B, then those medical records would have helped support the defendant's defense that truth is protection from defamation. Count 1, slander per se. Per se, again, you don't have to prove damages. And those are going through all the statements that were made for the slander per se. Count 2, slander against defendants where you do have to prove damages. Count 3, libel per se. You don't have to prove damages. The statement is so outrageous on its face that it's not tolerated in, polite society. Count 4, invasion of privacy, false light. And again, that's going to be casting someone's reputation in a false light. It is similar to defamation, but the elements aren't all the same. But you do have to show actual malice and disregard for the truth. Let's see. Count 5, intentional infliction of emotional distress, knowing that this is going to cause distress and continuing on. We know that Cardi B sent a cease and desist. And so when someone sends a cease and desist, and this is part of the strategy, when someone sends a cease and desist, and if it persists after that, you can say, look, we told them how it was impacting us, and they continued to go forward. We said that it's not true, and they continued on. So for an intentional, like the IIED claim, the intentional infliction of emotional distress, being able to say to a jury, we know they know because we sent the cease and desist and told them, and they persisted. Again, if they're telling the truth, then it's different. But if you know that you are saying something that's not true or are recklessly disregarding the truth and then are continuing on after you've been told it's not the truth and you know that it is not the truth or you can't prove that it's the truth, it makes it easier for a plaintiff to say, we told them and they continued and they knew it was damaging my mental health. And that's something that Cardi B testified about and we will get to. So Tasha K had a video about wiping her A with the cease and desist. So we know that she received it and read it because she made content about it as one does. Count 4, punitive damages, which is just the way that the damages will play out in an amount that exceeds $250,000. Count 7. Wait, was this count 6? Yep, sorry. Count 6, count 7, attorney's fees and litigation expenses. So, hey, we're going to actually try to get, all of the attorney's fees for going through this. So let's talk about what the minute orders show and what has happened in this trial. And then we'll get into some of the great reporting from Law 360 about this trial. There has not been a ton of reporting coming out of the courtroom. Again, it is in a federal court. That means there is no recording. There are no people. There are no people in the court to record this and take photos of it. There has to be someone reporting on it present in court. And I don't know if there are people in there every day to do that. But the reporting from Law 360 has been great. So let me pull this up because my link's not working. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it does not. Let us go through. We went through the exhibit list a little bit. But let's go through the days of trial that we have minute orders for so far. Of course, they were off yesterday for Martin Luther King, for MLK Day, Martin Luther King Day. And so with that, they would have been resuming court today. Let us get through all of these minute orders. And the minute orders are great. They're a great breakdown of great breakdown of the case. So let's see. Open proceedings held in open court on January 10th, 2022. The attorneys for Tasha K and her business, is it KB Studios LLC? The attorneys for Cardi B, more attorneys for Cardi B, and then more attorneys for Tasha K. So these are the attorneys that were present. This is the beginning of jury selection. The parties would have also been present. These are just the attorneys present. So they did voir dire and jury selection. The court discussed pretrial matters, defendant's forthcoming motion to reconsider, and exhibit lists. Parties conduct voir dire, however you would like to pronounce it. It depends on what region you are in as to how you pronounce voir dire. Potential jurors excused while the court heard motions for cause. 10 jurors selected via silent strike. No bats and challenges. The court will reconvene at 11 a.m. and jury trial will commence at noon. Hearing not concluded, court adjourned to reconvene at January 11th, 2022 at 11 a.m. Jurors excused till then. So they selected 10 jurors, it looks like, or they struck 10 jurors. Let's see. Next, January 11th, 2022. Attorneys present, trial begins. The court heard defendant's motion for reconsideration on a motion in limine and denies that motion, ruling the demand letter is admissible because it is not a settlement offer. So evidence that is coming in. The jury was sworn and instructed. Counsel conducted opening arguments. Plaintiff Cardi B calls defendant Tasha K as their first witness. Plaintiff reads stipulated facts into the record. So the court, the two parties had come to an agreement on some certain facts. Those certain facts I could include. We don't have that stipulation on the record, but they could include things like these videos were published on YouTube these days. We don't have to prove they were published, and things like that. So basic underlying facts that they don't have to go forward and prove to a jury, which saves the jury time and can be beneficial to both. Plaintiff's exhibits were admitted. Hearing not concluded, court adjourned and will reconvene at 9 o'clock. And then I had gone over what some of these exhibits were in a video, not last week. Maybe it was our members only chat. But these are tweets and YouTube videos predominantly, including the cease and desist. Next, January 12th, attorneys present. Trial continues. Plaintiff's counsel resumed and finished the direct examination of Tasha K. Plaintiff's exhibits include, and these were all the exhibits included and admitted. Again, YouTube videos, tweets, and the like. Instagram posts. Hearing not concluded. Court to reconvene on the 12th. Evidence entered and continued. A lot happened on the 13th. I did not see a minute order from the 12th. Couldn't find one. It might just not have populated yet. So this is from January 13th. The court discussed a note marked Court's Exhibit 1 received from a juror. Let's talk about the jurors. Received from a juror reporting another juror's comments made yesterday, the 12th, during a break. The court decided to excuse the juror for failure to follow the court's instruction. So a juror has been yeeted from the jury for failing to adhere to the court's rule. Let's see. We're going to have a little more information on this from the reporting in Law 360, but let's go through the rest of this minute order first. The court decided to excuse the juror for failure to follow the court's instruction. Jurors were individually advised of another juror's family member testing positive for the COVID-19, but because this juror is vaccinated and has had limited contact with the family member, the court is not dismissing her, and each juror questioned affirmed their desire to proceed. Wouldn't you? At this point, you've already started to see the YouTube videos. Cardi B's in court. Tasha K's in court. Aren't you like, I am here. I am here. I am here. Here. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. You couldn't get me off this jury for anything. For anything. I would be so deeply invested. I would be so deeply invested in this. After starting to see some of the YouTube videos, you couldn't get rid of me on this jury for anything. For anything. Let's see. So they talk, I think that was the juror, but no, this is probably a witness. The Edison was dismissed and trial resumed, though it could be the juror, but it would be unusual for them to name the juror in a minute order that's public. Plaintiff called Tasha K to testify. This is on the 13th. So, okay. Plaintiff called to testify, examined on cross and redirect. So they weren't done with Tasha K's testimony yet. And then more of Cardi B's exhibits, the plaintiff's exhibits, were admitted, a lot more. And then defense exhibits were also admitted, and a portion of Exhibit 1. Trial will resume Tuesday, January 18th, today. Hearing not concluded, court adjourned. In this period of time, it would have been on the 12th. Let me go see if I can find it. It would have been on the 12th that Cardi B testified. Let's see why that wasn't in there. Maybe it just didn't. We're gonna double check. No, 189, 190, 191, 192. There isn't even a docket number for it, which is really annoying because those docket numbers go in order, which means it's not populating from the 12th. I'm gonna double check Pacer while we're talking. Because I'm curious, but the docket numbers go in order. They're just missing the 12th, and I double checked it, but let's see if maybe it's populated now. And then we're going to go to the reporting because we know more about what went on with the jurors, and we know more about Tasha K's testimony and a lot more about Cardi B's testimony. Warning, Cardi B's testimony includes thoughts of self-harm. If that conversation is triggering to you, again, we're not going to go in depth, but it is part of the conversation of the mental duress that Cardi B suffered based on this. So let me double check. I've been keeping an eye on this one pretty closely, along with just a few others. So Pacer's being slow. Just let y'all see the slowness. It's like, I'm not loading. I don't want to load. I don't want to load at all. Come on, Pacer. All right, let's see. No, those are the objections. Those are the amendment. Exhibit list, minute order. I have 191. That's the minute order from the 13th. And we've got the minute order this is also from the 13th. Let's see. I have 191. Let's see what 191 is. Where is it? 189, 190, 191. 191. Oh, this is from the 12th. So either I missed it when we were going through or I talked about it, but this would have been the day I think that Cardi B testified. So let's go to the reporting on what was said, because the reporting about what Tasha K said is really interesting. So the headline from Law 360 is "Lying about Cardi B is my business," YouTuber tells Georgia jury. Now remember, they have to prove that she knew it was false. So okay. A YouTuber accused by Cardi B of defamation told a jury Wednesday that she knowingly published lies about the rapper to generate money for her business while repeatedly telling her viewers that she speaks the truth. I should have flown to Georgia. I could have driven to Georgia. Damn it. Opportunity missed. I should have just gone to Georgia to watch this go down because seriously. Tasha K spent the day. Oh, this is the darker color than I was anticipating. I thought I was grabbing the sparkly one. Nope. I like this one too. What did we just grab? Rose Hill. We love, but okay. That's sure. Tasha K spent the day on the witness stand in Atlanta federal court admitting that she dragged and targeted Cardi B to drive public engagement with her online content. There it is. I mean, how do you come back from that? How does a jury find anything other than she did this intentionally? Like, what? I mean, I I guess credit where credit's due that it seems like she was testifying honestly. Tasha K and her company face claims of defamation, invasion of privacy through portrayal in a false light, and IIED in relation to almost 40 profanity-filled online Look, profanity-filled is not a negative. Don't. It doesn't matter if they're profanity-filled. It depends on who the profanity is directed at. A well-placed fuck is fine. Don't come for the profanity. Leave the cursey words alone. So anyway, the 10 jurors, they're now 9 jurors because the one got dismissed. The 9 jurors. Oh, by the way, I should mention this. This is a civil lawsuit. I don't think I mentioned this earlier. They do not have to come to a unanimous decision. The jury can split. They might be unanimous, but the jury can have, with 9 jurors, they can still have, 8 say she did it and 1 say nah, and it's a conviction. So in civil, it does not have to be a unanimous verdict because the standards are lower than when you're taking somebody's liberty. So don't come for the cursey words. The 10 jurors watched YouTube blogs, Law 360. They're just videos. Like you don't have to call it a blog. They're not blogs. Blogs are written. Just please don't boomer me with YouTube blogs. I'm dying. The 10 jurors watched YouTube blogs and other videos of Tasha K saying she knew some of her public statements about Cardi B were false. I had wondered, because some on Twitter had alluded to this, about whether Tasha K said in her content that she knew the statements were false. And if there are YouTube videos or Instagram videos or tweets where she's alluding to that, then she can't testify any differently because she'll just be impeached. So YouTube videos and other videos, Instagram, I'm sure, saying that she knew some of her public statements about Cardi B were false, including that the rapper cheated on her husband and had an STI. She said those lies continue to boost her income from advertising revenue because she refuses to delete the online content. So let me get this straight. The jury saw videos of Tasha K flexing on Cardi B, and then Cardi B was like, fine, let's go to court then. I think that's where we're at. I knew this shit was fake, Tasha K said in one video played to the jurors. I wanted the money. This is a business. This is called ratings. Oof. This is called defamatory, and that's not how that works. You can have a business in the social media space without dragging others down. I'm just saying. In an Instagram post, Tasha K wrote, "Keep sending the lies and watch me air them too." So knowing that people were sending her information that were lies, a jury is not going to like any of this. A jury is not going to like any of this. During cross-examination by Cardi B's counsel, Tasha K said she earns more money from advertisers than her videos and social media posts when her videos and social media posts are viewed, liked, commented on, and shared by other internet users. Well, that's how the internet works. She said it was Cardi B's fault that one of her videos about the rapper had been watched almost 5 million times because the rapper had responded to it, which drove more people to view it. She gave it life, Tasha K said. That's not how that works, though. That's not how that works, though. It's not. Imagine sitting in front of a jury and saying, I mean, yeah, I lied about her, but it's her fault. I mean, she responded. If she hadn't responded, nobody would have seen it. No, that's not a defense. That's not a defense. The blogger said she planned the September 2018 publication of an interview with a woman who claimed to have lived and worked with Cardi B in New York, knowing that the woman's allegation that Cardi B was a cocaine user and had a herpes infection. Wait, that Cardi B was a cocaine user and a herpes infected prostitute were false. Tasha K then subsequently encouraged other women with contrary information to debunk that bitch. Traffic on Tasha K's main YouTube channel reportedly increased 340% in the fall of 2018, largely because of her content about Cardi B, case records show. The YouTuber has about 1 million blog subscribers. Does she also have a blog? Maybe she also has a blog. I don't know. Wow. 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 Tasha K said from the stand that the content about Cardi B is still online so that her ratings and associated income could continue to increase. Look, man, if you're going to be honest, just be honest. Props for honesty. But if you know all this is honest, don't you just stop when you get the cease and desist? Don't you just stop then? Just what? What? The only way she will ever remove the videos and posts about Cardi B is if ordered to do so by the court, she said. Well, I feel like that's coming because, but also, if all of this comes to YouTube's attention, which I imagine that it will, given the given how much of a mainstream celebrity Cardi B is, wouldn't YouTube say, okay, so you've said that you knowingly lied, defamed someone, left them up, did it for views and money. At what point, if Cardi B wins this defamation suit, which seems likely to me at this point. So if Cardi B wins this suit, don't you just send the ruling with your lawyers to YouTube and be like, YouTube, not only do I want these videos taken down, we need to deplatform her. Don't you think that's what Cardi B asks for after this? Like, I don't think we're just going to see these videos come down. I think we could see Tasha K's entire YouTube channel come down if she loses this suit. She is gambling with her YouTube channel at this trial, and I don't think that gamble is wise. So she said, I have an agency that's watching me. They want to see good numbers every month. So make good content and then have good numbers. Tasha K said in one of her blog videos played in the courtroom, all of this is publicity. This is fun for me. Oh, jurors aren't gonna like that either. When tearing people down is your form of sport, hunting for celebrities is not what a jury is gonna like. Tasha K said she repeatedly referred to Cardi B as herpes B and cold sore B, even after receiving 3. Oh, there were 3. Is 3 the magic number for cease and desists? You get 3 and then you get sued. Is that third time you're out? 3 cease and desists beginning and then being sued in March 2019. Oh. Social media posts and online videos taunting the rapper have been published by Tasha K throughout the course of the litigation. Wait, what? Oh, I need to tune back in. Stay tuned for Friday. We're going to go watch everything Tasha K's doing. But I think they mean through the course of litigation from 2019 to now. I don't think they mean during the course of the trial, but we'll go investigate. If you guys see it, send it to me. I can't imagine she's talking about this during the trial. I mean, then again, I would never have guessed that somebody would testify like this. So maybe. The content creator admitted Wednesday that she used offensive terms to get a reaction, knowing Cardi B was irritated and upset by them. Oh, fuck. Well, when it comes to the intentional infliction of emotional distress, whoop, there it is. Because there's the intentional infliction of emotional distress. I knew she was bothered by it, so I ramped it up to fuck with her. We're done. I don't know what defense you could bring after saying this. I'll be interested to see, But I don't know how you defend this after saying that, because truth isn't going to help you here with the IIED. Oh, I'm going to have to go see what people have posted on Reddit about this. I'm sure there's more. She said in public, I'm sure there are tons of content creators covering this. I will go look for the content creators covering the T side of this, because I'm just looking at the legal side of this. But oh my God. She said in public videos that she would pull the content down if the rapper paid her for the residual income she would have received if the videos remained online. That's not how that works. It's a business, she said in one video. You want to shit down on my platform, you've got to pay for that. No, they're not trying to shut down your platform. They're trying to stop you from saying things that they believe are defamatory. Wow. Wow. Okay. But in other published videos, Tasha K said she would continue to post offensive content about Cardi B, even if the rapper paid her not to. She said she didn't care about the performer's feelings or her civil claims. IIED. I don't give a fuck if they put a gag order on me, Tasha K said in a video. It's gossip, bitch. The thing about gossip is, though, there are boundaries. There are boundaries. Okay. Cardi B sat quietly through Tasha K's testimony. Imagine how hard that would be. Imagine how hard it would be to sit in the room and watch not just these videos, but watch these videos face to face with the person who's been saying this about you online. I can't imagine the level of frustration. I can't imagine. Cardi sat quietly through Tasha K's testimony, but appeared to become upset during part of an 18-minute video that was played in court when the blogger talked about the rapper's young daughter. Yeah, because you don't talk about the kids. Cardi B partially raised a hand as though listening to the video was too much and was patted on the arm by one of her lawyers. Tasha K said that she didn't seek to corroborate rumors about the rapper before publishing them, and that even if she had evidence to the contrary, she would still publish the lies to drive ratings. What? Wow. But in videos to her viewers, Tasha K said, "My word is a fact." Okay. Their defamation suit's really strong. And that 98% of what she posts is accurate. That's not going to work, though, if you're stating it as a fact, because the rest of that's going to come back in a lawsuit. The blogger said she also referred to Cardi B negatively in videos and posts that were not about the rapper, just to increase traffic. Again, honesty's a thing. More testimony from Tasha K here. The report says, quote, "Bitch, you are my content. You are my motherfucking content," Tasha K said about Cardi B in a published video. "I take pride in this shit." Tasha K said her Instagram account had been deleted 3 times because of the offensive nature of her post, which violated the social media's rules. Here's the thing, though. If you violate TOS on Instagram and then put your account back on Instagram, then you're ban evading and you get permabanned from Instagram. So does Tasha K still have an Instagram? I imagine that she doesn't. "I had to delete the post," Tasha K said in a tweet. "They were being taken down by Instagram for bullying." So it wasn't just the 3 cease and desists. It was the, I don't know, violation of the platform. Tasha K is not helping herself at all. This was not an oopsie. This was not a, well, I believed this person said this thing and shared what I believed. This is not an I believed. This isn't an oopsie. This is a, I don't give a fuck. It's driving my content, and a jury's not going to like it at all. I can't believe this made it to trial. I can't believe this made it to trial. I mean, maybe I should. Maybe I should believe it because the shit that's being said is so crazy. There's nowhere to go but trial, right? It's like, no, fuck it. Let a jury decide. Holy shit. This is crazy. Um, let's continue on. She told her blog viewers that Cardi B had performed a debasing act with a beer bottle. We've got that video on my channel where I cover that part of the lawsuit. Tasha K countersued Cardi B at one point. So Tasha K countersued Cardi B for harassment and other things, and the court yeeted the entire motion. And yeah. The court called it a debasing act, by the way, alluding that the video from a adult video website without verifying whether the rapper was the woman in the video who had made it or whether it had been doctored. So again, falsehoods. Tasha K told jurors, so this is direct testimony, that she thinks it's funny to say that people have STIs, even AIDS, particularly if they were reckless in becoming infected. What? What? Why though? Oh God. Okay. At one point, Tasha K got into hot water while answering questions from Cardi B's counsel. U.S. District Judge William M. Ray sat there. Sat there. I was going, why the fuck are we wasting a jury's time with this? He told the defense multiple times to settle this case. District Judge William M. Ray II admonished her for avoiding yes or no answers and instead saying the things she wanted to. I'm really getting tired of you doing that, Judge Ray said from the bench. Don't do it again. It's not helpful to anyone. It delays the trial. It sometimes causes an objection to be made, and it causes me to be concerned. So don't do it. Judge Ray also warned Tasha K's attorneys about motioning to her while she was on the stand. No, they didn't. After the judge received a report that the lawyer might be indicating how the defendant should answer. No, they didn't. Her lawyers can't sit there and be like, oh my God, her lawyers are going to get in trouble too. They already kind of have. Her lawyers have already gotten yelled at by this court. Her lawyers have been called unprofessional and a bunch of other things by this court. Her lawyers and the judge have not been getting along. You know what? For every client, there is a lawyer that is a right fit. We saw that in the Triller suits. I've seen you shaking your head no and yes, Judge Ray told Sadr Sabak of Sabak and I can now Ismailova, I think, an attorney for Tasha K. To the extent this is unintentional, I need you to be more aware. You can't do that. The trial began on Monday with jury selection, after which the jurors heard opening statements and the start of Tasha K's testimony. Cardi B's next two witnesses are due to give testimony on Thursday, and then the attorneys that represent them. Let us go to Cardi B's testimony, because Cardi testified after Tasha K. And I see the petitions. I see the petitions in the chat. I see the petitions. I mean, it really is some fuckery, isn't it? It really is some fuckery. All right. Motion for DEFCON red is granted. I didn't bring my gavels. They're in the background. So motion for DEFCON red is granted. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. We'll cue it up before we get to Cardi's testimony. Where's my phone? So when I go to DEFCON red, just so y'all know, the DEFCON red intro does flash. At the end of the music, the flashing will stop. If you are flash sensitive, please be aware that this intro does in fact flash, and it will stop when the music stops. It is a very brief intro. Let's go to DEFCON red. Okay. Okay. DEFCON red. Let's get to Cardi B's testimony and talk about IIED. And keep in mind, that Cardi B does talk about thoughts of self-harm during her testimony, and that's brought up. It's not brought up in great detail, but it is brought up. So just word of warning. This also comes from Law 360, who has been doing great reporting on this, and we appreciate them. I should have gone to Georgia. Next time. Next time. Georgia's so close. Georgia has a Kura. Atlanta is kind of great. All right. Cardi B told jurors in her defamation case against a YouTuber on Thursday that she was suicidal over the blogger's content after taking the witness stand following the removal of one juror for prematurely discussing the case. The rapper testified in Atlanta federal court that she became suicidal in late 2018 after lies about her being a drug-taking prostitute with herpes were published online by Georgia blogger Tasha K. Cardi B, who sued Tasha and her company in March 2019, choked back tears as she explained how her mother and husband became so concerned about her depression that they arranged for her to see a therapist. The performer said Tasha K's online bullying started shortly after she had given birth to her first child, a daughter who is now 3 years old. It's not online bullying's not okay. Online harassment is not okay. Even though people are in the public eye, it doesn't mean they're not people with feelings. I had suicidal thoughts every single day to the point where I felt like I was being a burden to my family, Cardi B said. My mother and husband noticed I wasn't happy. Every time I woke up, I had anxiety. The rapper said she felt dead inside and slept as much as she could to avoid the pain. She added that Tasha K also started making false public statements about her family, including that her father had hard R-worded a teenager. I felt really helpless and hopeless, Cardi B said. It was just constant harassment. Cardi B said she lost a lot of weight and suffered from headaches and migraines as a result of the ongoing allegations about her published on Tasha K's YouTube channel and various social media platforms. And again, this all goes to the intentional infliction of emotional distress. She will be proving in this testimony, and I think this will prove in this testimony, that the intentional infliction of emotional distress actually caused emotional distress. She has to show that. I think this testimony will show that as we get further into it, but also that it was intentional. But we saw from the previous reports of testimony from Tasha K that she knew and ramped it up because it was getting a response from Cardi B. Cardi B said she spent at least $10,000 on therapy sessions and half of that amount in one weekend where she flew her therapist to New York because she was having a mental freaking crisis. I couldn't stop crying. I couldn't stop shaking. I couldn't even think. And my family was getting very concerned. It did help. I still get anxiety because I feel like the harassment is going to continue, but I'm not in the super dark place that I was. A devout Catholic, the 29-year-old rapper, said that she felt as though the devil had taken her mind at a time when she should have been grateful for the blessing of a child. I couldn't even think straight, she said. I felt like I didn't deserve my kid because I felt so sad and depressed, and I have the biggest gift from God. Cardi B described Tasha K as demonic. Only an evil person could do that shit. Sorry for my language. I'm not surprised. Look, it's hard to testify. Only an evil person could do that shit. Sorry for my language, she said. I've had rough times. I've been homeless. I've been beat up by men that I've been with. I grew up very poor, but I never felt before Tasha K's videos like I wanted to die. Cardi B took the stand just before lunch on Thursday, following a delayed start to the proceedings due to the concern over a juror's premature discussion of the case and another juror's relative having tested positive for the COVID-19. And we talked about this in those minute orders. U.S. District Judge William M. Ray II excused a female juror from service. Ooh, now we get to know more about it. Excused a female juror from service after receiving a note Wednesday evening from another juror explaining that the female juror made comments about the case in the jury room. You cannot discuss the case until you have been excused to discuss the case. If you've watched any cases that have been broadcast recently or ever, you will see at the end of every break, the judge says at every break, remember, do not discuss the case with anyone. After closing arguments, after jury instructions are read, the judge says, you may discuss the case only when all other jurors are present. And then they get dismissed to the jury room to deliberate. But you cannot discuss the case at all. If you go to lunch with another juror, you can't be like, oh, did you like Cardi's nails today? You can't talk about the case at all. Oh, was it cold in the courtroom? Even then, I'd be nervous. The excused juror reportedly commented negatively about Tasha K's conduct in one of her profanity-ridden blog videos that had been played in court on Wednesday. In the video, Tasha K appeared to be drinking wine at home during the day while her daughter was in the next room trying to do her schoolwork remotely, and she was heard speaking harshly to the child. Quote, the juror was obviously disturbed by either the fact that the child was in the home when the defendant was engaging in the type of language that she was using, which is obviously pretty typical of her performances, or possibly that she dealt with her child in the manner that she did, Judge Ray said while the jurors were out of the courtroom. So to the lawyers. The judge said he's not surprised the juror felt that way. Wow. Wow. The judge said he's not surprised the juror felt that way. Like probably everyone who heard the video, he said that he's not concerned about how the jurors feel about the case, but that the juror did not follow his instructions to not discuss the case. He's like, well, all the jurors probably that was probably their takeaway from that video. I don't know which video that is. I'm going to have to go look. If these videos are still, y'all are going to have me down a rabbit hole because now I'm fascinated, but I will go through the complaint and look at the videos that are listed if they are still up, because they're listed by date and title. The judge said he's not surprised the juror felt that way. Oh, next paragraph. Judge Ray said a separate juror found out Wednesday evening that their adult son who lives in the basement, that just sounds funny. I imagine it's a finished basement, that their adult son who lives in the juror's basement. Are they a Twitch streamer? I have questions. Teasing. Not all Twitch streamers live in their parents' basements. Who lives in the juror's basement had tested positive for COVID-19. The judge noted that the juror was vaccinated, had minimal contact with their son, and was not symptomatic, and therefore did not have to quarantine under current guidelines from the CDC. The judge explained to each juror individually and asked if they were comfortable proceeding with the trial. All jurors answered affirmatively. Are we shocked? No. If you're a juror, aren't you like, yes, please. I need to know how this ends. Like, I imagine the jurors are engrossed with this trial and just like, tell me all of it. The 9 remaining jurors also heard from Cardi B about her humble beginnings and her path to stardom. Born and raised in what she described as rough New York neighborhoods, including in the Bronx, Cardi B said she fell into stripping while attending community college in Manhattan when she was 18. She was fired from a supermarket job near her college for being late to work. Relatable. Me, my entire life, struggling to not be late to work. And she said a supervisor suggested that she audition for a dancing role at a strip club across the street. Did they mean that in jest? Was that mean? Were they being mean? Was the supervisor being mean or trying to be helpful? Y'all let me know how you interpret that. Cardi B said she made $300 in her first night stripping, which was more than she made working 5 days at the supermarket. Fair. She said she earned enough money stripping under the name of Camilla to leave an abusive boyfriend she was living with at the time and eventually help fund her music career, which is her passion. I like Cardi B's music. The rapper denied the alleged defamatory statements made about her in Tasha K's various videos and posts, telling the jurors that she had never been a prostitute, had herpes or HPV, taken cocaine, or cheated on her husband. It was in September 2018 that Cardi B became aware of Tasha K when the blogger published an interview with a stripper who claimed to know the rapper and said that Cardi B cheated, took drugs, and prostituted for a living. Cardi B said she immediately contacted Tasha K to explain the allegations were false and that while she had worked at the same strip club as the woman, they didn't know one another. She said she declined Tasha K's invitation to be interviewed about it, and that's why the blogger really started harassing her. I didn't know that. That's very interesting. It was very interesting. She was kind of like baiting me to keep responding because the more comments I made, the more engagement she was getting on her YouTube page, Cardi B said. I wanted her to stop and at least take some considerations to the truth. I felt like she didn't care for the truth. She only cared about views or the clickbait on her page. Did it for clicks and views. Interesting. Interesting. Tasha K's statements were humiliating and had a lasting effect, Cardi B said. I mean, that's where we get to the per se, the outrageous conduct. And will a juror find this to be outrageous? Probably. To this day, I still get called herpes B. It just, doesn't it feel like next level junior high harassment to do this to people? To this day, I still get called herpes B. People think I have herpes, she said. I have to keep defending myself when that's not true. I don't think I have thin skin for criticism, but I have thin skin for outrageous lies. The rapper said that sitting through trial and reliving Tasha K's statements was harder than she thought it would be, and that it was causing her to experience PTSD and panic attacks. Questioning by Tasha K's lawyers, Cardi B admitted that she said on a video that she was going to sue the blogger and take all of your fucking bread. She sent her 3 cease and desists. Is this the worst thing that Cardi B said about Tasha K? Is this it? Is this the worst? Oh no, there's more. She also wrote in a message to a friend that she wanted to kill the YouTuber. But that's a message to a friend. That's not saying it in a public space. Okay. I was speaking figuratively, she said from the stand. I was really upset. Who wouldn't be? Who wouldn't say figuratively, I want to kill this person? Trial will resume Tuesday morning. So trial has resumed today. This is going to be very interesting to see what defenses Tasha K tries to bring, because it seems that truth is not going to work. Tasha K, after her testimony, as reported, is not going to be able to say, I thought this was true. If Tasha K is saying in her YouTube videos, I know it's lies and I don't give a fuck, I don't know what her defense is going to be, especially to the per se. I don't think it's going to fly like, well, she's saying WAP, so I can say whatever I want about her. That's not going to fly to a jury. That's not a defense. Yeah, you don't get to dehumanize people. So that's not how that works. I think we're going to see a big win in court for Cardi B. I will be interested in seeing what falls out next, what the consequences are. Will Tasha K be able to pay a judgment? Will her YouTube channel remain up? Will these videos come down? What is next? Will Cardi B's lawyers go to YouTube and be like, yo, no, here's the ruling from the court? I'm fascinated. I know I'm late to the game on this, and I will go look. I know there are other channels that have been covering this, and I will go seek them out to look and see if they pulled together the things Tasha K has said. From a legal perspective, Tasha K seems to have been honest on the truth, and the honesty means that what she did based on her testimony seems to me to be defamatory, and seems to me like she doesn't have any way to win this case. I don't see any way that she wins this case at all. So stay tuned. This should be going to a jury maybe this week. And if you already have jurors that can't bite their tongue and are already horrified by the videos they're seeing in court and are already trying to talk about it, this jury's not going to be out very long. And we'll see the jury instructions and we'll go through them again. I think that that's been helpful to you guys, going through the jury instructions and seeing what the jury has to decide, and we will do that. Wow. Well, hopefully, I mean, YouTube's actions here are going to be evaluated. And the way YouTube deals with this, the way Instagram deals with this, the way Twitter deals with this will be very interesting to see, because I imagine that that Cardi B's attorneys will reach out to all the platforms and be like, what are you going to do now? Because this is cyberbullying. And I'll have to look. I'm interested that they didn't. Georgia might not have, my brain moving faster than my mouth. Georgia might not have a cyberbullying statute, because I would imagine some of this would fall under cyberbullying as well, based on Tasha K's statements in videos that they've reported and in testimony as reported. Ooh. this one's going to have some impact, and it won't have impact on content creators who verify sources, who make sure that the things that they're saying are true and accurate. I mean, journalists can't just say, "Oh, well, somebody called me up and said they were so and so's roommate," without offering any proof and multiple sources that fact check. This is why journalists fact check things through multiple people. This is one of the reasons I stick to what was said in a video, what was said in a tweet, what was said in court documents. You have to verify. I am not I am media, but I am not an investigative journalist. I don't want to go track down sources and double site check things 4 times. I want to read the court documents. But if you're going to report on things like this, you better know that it's true. Wow. 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 Let's talk about this new Rust lawsuit, shall we? As we've gotten an hour and 45 minutes in, and the mods are like, oh gosh, we're just getting here. Huge thank you to the mods, and a huge thank you to all of you for being here. If you haven't liked and subscribed, we might bing. Let me go look. I think we're pretty close. We were pretty close. And then YouTube was like yeeting. So make sure you're still subscribed. YouTube's been doing that lately. Oh, very close. We're very close to a bing. So, if you haven't liked and subscribed, let's push us over into 194. We're getting closer and closer to the galaxy hair, and I'm very excited for it. Let's talk about this new Rust lawsuit. I'm going to swoop. I meant to swoop. I forgot to swoop. Swoop! Oh, new Rust lawsuit. This lawsuit is filed by if you aren't, let's do a quick road so far. If you haven't been following the Rust lawsuits, this is regarding the on-set shooting that took the life of Helena Hutchins, injured Joel Souza, Helena being the director of cinematography, Joel Souza being the director. On the set of Western movie Rust, one of the producers and lead actors in the movie is Alec Baldwin. I have a fair few videos on this channel and on my podcast, The Emily Show, breaking down not only Baldwin's statements, but the lawsuits that have come. So far, we've had lawsuits where people are suing Baldwin, the production agency, and everyone involved. I believe it was one of the key grips that sued. We have not seen a wrongful death suit from the family of Helena Hutchins yet. They have plenty of time to do that. And a lawsuit from the script supervisor, both of who were with Helena as she passed on set before she got onto a life flight. This lawsuit is coming from the armorer, Hannah Guiterrez Reed, who was in charge of the weapons, against Seth Kinney and PDQ Arm and Prop, the prop house. So this is the armorer civilly suing the prop house. Oh, what I should say and didn't say in the last bit too, as just a reminder, especially for all of our international crew, with civil lawsuits, the remedy is generally money or injunctions. Injunctions meaning do this or don't do this. Money meaning pay. Jail is not on the table there. Civil remedies are on the table. So civil remedies could be, money, an injunction from talking about somebody, turning an Instagram account over to a company like in the Haley Page suit. There are different types of civil relief, but they are not prison related. Those are only criminal cases. So with this is a civil lawsuit, which is going to be over money damages and possibly other things. This is a first look for me, so we will see. Complaint for violations of New Mexico's Unfair Trade Practices Act, introducing dangerous products onto movie sets, strict product liability, and false label representations. So, civil actions. Oh, my nose got stuffy. Apologies. Nature of the case. This case arises out of a shooting that occurred on the Rust production set that occurred on October 21st, 2021, that killed Helena Hutchins and wounded Joel Souza. The parties, Hannah Guiterrez Reed is a resident of Arizona. Seth Kinney is a resident of New Mexico, they believe, and the founder and managing member of PDQ Arm and Prop. Defendant PDQ Arm and Prop is a domestic limited liability company with a registered agent. Fine. This should be filed in Bernalillo County, New Mexico. There we go. So this is filed in the 2nd Judicial District, County of Bernalillo, state of New Mexico. So state court in New Mexico, not federal court. Background: in or about August and September 2021, on a different movie set in Texas, defendant Seth Keeney enlisted Theo Reed to help train actors at a shooting range and I'm assuming, hopefully they will disclose who Theo Reed is. I am guessing Theo Reed is the father of Hannah Guiterrez Reed. To help train actors at a shooting range in the use of live fired rounds at a licensed range off the movie set. This is a different movie set. This training was to help the actors understand the way a firearm would recoil after live fire. By the way, a tangent in my brain. I don't think I brought this up when I talked about the Alec Baldwin Rust set interview because it occurred to me later. But Alec Baldwin said it took him 45 minutes to perceive that a live round could have been in the gun. But live rounds have a lot of kick. Non-live rounds, to my understanding, don't kick, which is he described in that interview. I should maybe talk about this again, but he described in that interview that Hannah Guiterrez Reed would instruct him on how to act the kick, how to make the kick of the gun happen when shooting non-live rounds so that it looked real, and that he would have to understand the way it kicked and understand how to use his body to make that happen. So how did it take him 45 minutes to conceive of a live round when the gun would have had to have had kickback because it fired a live round? We know a live round fired. The gun would have kicked. It would have recoiled. So how do you not know? Because a dummy round would have had no recoil. You have to act the recoil. And he was taught to act the recoil. He talked about her telling her how to act the recoil. But then he fired a live round and there would have been recoil. So how does it take you 45 minutes? I have questions. Anyway, this training was to help the actors understand the way a firearm would recoil after live fire so that they could simulate the recoil during filming. There were never live rounds on the Texas set, but instead this instruction occurred off-site at a licensed shooting range, which seems appropriate. Following the training, Seth took the ammo can and its contents with him in his van. Thiel estimated the ammo can contained 200 to 300 live 45 Colt rounds, which included Starline brass reloaded live rounds. I have no idea what any of that means, but okay. Oh, they're going to tell us. Great. Starline Brass is a company that produces ammo brass casings that can be made into dummy, blank, or live ammo by anyone with the knowledge and equipment to do so. The company does not itself make live rounds, so the company makes brass casings. Anyone with access to the dummy rounds could convert them into live rounds with the proper reloading equipment. Well, where is this going? On October 4th, 2021, Rust Production hired Hannah Guiterrez Reed as an independent contractor for the positions of armorer and key props assistants on Rust. Oh, there we go. Hannah is the daughter of Theo Reed, longtime Hollywood armorer who trained Hannah. As Rust armorer, Hannah was responsible for maintaining and managing operation of firearm-related movie props. As key props assistant, she was responsible for assisting with a multitude of prop duties as requested by Miss Zachary and production. The Rust script was very gun heavy. Well, if it was gun heavy, why did you have her doing two things? I have questions. It seems ill-advised. It seems ill-advised. Was a very gun-heavy Western script with guns needed in 10 of the 12 filming days leading up to October 21st, and gunfire on at least half of the shooting days, according to the call sheets. The gun-heavy script required Hannah to perform a significant amount of work each day as both armorer and key props assistant. Hannah was to be paid approximately a total of $7,500 for both jobs combined. Is that scale? Why does that seem so low? That seems low. Production hired Sarah Zachary as props manager, and she was responsible for obtaining and maintaining all movie props on for Rust. Production also hired Sarah's future sister-in-law, Nicole Montoya, as props assistant. Both Hannah and Sarah were 24 years old when they were hired. Nicole was 19. I'm curious as to why they're pointing that out here. Just, I'm wondering how that will turn in. Are they trying to say that they weren't qualified for these tasks? Because that seems like an odd argument to make in a lawsuit. Defendant Seth Keeney was instrumental in recommending both Hannah and Sarah for hire on the Rust set. Rust production was a quote low budget film. It had a rushed and chaotic atmosphere, culminating on the day of the tragedy with the abrupt and unexpected resignations of members of the camera crew on October 20th. All the while, the props and armor departments were expected to teach each other and do more with less. The introduction of live rounds on set, which no one anticipated, combined with the rushed and chaotic atmosphere, created a perfect storm for the safety incident. Rust was a Western movie whose props included pistols, rifles, dummy ammo, and blank ammo, herein blanks and dummies. A dummy round or drill round is a round that is completely inert, contains no primer, propellant, or explosive charge. A blank round is a cartridge containing powder only without a bullet. At no time was live ammunition to be used. So a dummy would be in a rifle so it looked like there were bullets in it, because you would need the back of the brass to show the gun to make it look like it had bullets. And the blank round gives a little bit of a projection or an off put when you fire it, is my understanding. Live ammo means, a bullet. The source of the ammo and firearms. On October 4th, Sarah and Hannah met with Seth Keeney at PDQ Arm and Props in Albuquerque to collect the necessary dummy and blank ammunition and firearms for Rust. Defendant Keeney and his company were the primary distributor of ammunition and firearms to Rust. Over the course of the Rust production, Sarah would from time to time bring other boxes labeled dummy ammo onto set. Well, where did Sarah get them from? Defendant Keeney and his company distributed dummies in boxes with labels affixed that read dummy rounds 45 or 45 LC. Within each box was a plastic tray of 50 cartridges packaged in 10 columns of 5 individual rounds. Defendants also supplied 44/40 caliber dummy rounds. When not in use, all firearms were maintained in a locked safe in a prop truck. Dummy and blank ammo were not routinely locked in the safe, and there was no protocol calling for the ammunition to be locked up because nobody would have ever expected that this could happen. Hannah purchased this safe for the productions using production credit card and has a copy of the receipt. So they're saying we bought a gun safe and locked it up, or we bought a safe with a code. Only Hannah, Sarah, and the props assistant knew the code to the safe. Hannah believed. The cause of the fallout between Seth and Hannah. Oh, there's fallout. On October 16th, 5 days prior to the tragic shooting on the Rust set, Sarah had an accidental/negligent discharge of a weapon on set, firing a blank round at her foot. Within 15 to 20 minutes of that accidental discharge, Baldwin's stunt double accidentally/negligently discharged a round from his weapon inside a cabin on set nearby, as confirmed and reported by the LA Times on November 20th. Hannah confronted Sarah on the accidental/negligent discharge. Well, this is the first time we're hearing any of this. This is all new info on the Rust stuff. Hannah confronted Sarah on her accidental negligent discharge, wanted to know what had happened, and indicated that they would need to tell production about it, and that it could impact Sarah's ability to handle weapons on set. Seems appropriate. This led to a heated text exchange between Seth Keeney and Hannah over Sarah's accidental negligent discharge and the reporting of it. Oh no. Seth took Sarah's side and essentially told Hannah to back off, that mistakes happen, and that Hannah needed to remember that Sarah was her boss and not to push it. This is a good time to remember that lawsuits are allegations and shade, and this is only one side of the story. I know I say that all the time, and I also see text messages photographed below, so we're going to get to that in just a second. Hannah interpreted this as, this is an awkward sentence. Hannah interpreted this as that Seth, who was called the armorer mentor in call sheets, wanted to sweep this security incident under the rug. The term armorer mentor does not seem to be a position that is used or understood on film sets generally. This is titled Text Between Hannah. And the thing is, the screenshot is of a text and it says text between Hannah ... I wonder if they labeled the photos that, because anyway, it's showing a screenshot of what purports to be Seth talking to Hannah, and the text in the, the text in the other party's side says, excuse me, accidental discharges are accidents. A mistake is where the armorer provides a gun and fully load ammo to be fired with a horse in the vicinity. Will you tell production about that? We learn and move on, and don't forget she's your boss. Don't push it. The blue bubble text then says, excuse you, ? What mistakes do you think I'm making? ? Will I tell production about what? ? You think I'm some fucking rat or something? You think I'm running to production to tattle? You have me fucked up, Seth. If she doesn't like me when I barely said anything about it, you can come back and finish the show. I'm not going to stay where I'm a fucking problem. Oh boy. Well, we also know that law enforcement has Hannah Guiterrez's phone. So law enforcement would have all of this already. Wow. And this seems to be before the camera crew walked off the set. Yikes. But I'm interested to see next what Hannah Guiterrez Reed told production, because this seems to be that she was told not to tell production. And if she was told not to tell production, that also leans in backing up that Alec Baldwin say he was not aware at the time that there were safety incidents, which is interesting because he did say that in the ABC interview. On or around October 17th or 18th, Seth called a friend of his who he had met through Theo Reed, Hannah's father, Officer Troy Task of Bullhead City, Arizona. What? Seth stated to Troy, how do we know this? Okay, hopefully they'll explain how we know. Seth stated to Troy that he never wanted to work with Hannah again. Seth also falsely accused Hannah of using derogatory language about Sarah 3 times on set. But who told who? Did Troy then tell Theo, who then told Hannah? How many levels of hearsay is this? Because how do we know that Seth had this conversation? They're suing. They're suing Keeney, Seth. So how do they know what he said in that conversation? I don't know. I don't know how they know. It's a lot of layers of hearsay. All right. Let's see. So things are not going well between Seth and Hannah. The morning of the tragedy and the unexplained arrival of a newly full ammo box. Oh shit. So, okay. This is a first look. Here's where I think this is going. Are they going to allude, and I'm stopping reading so I can tell you what I think. Are they going to allude that they were setting up Hannah to never work again as an armorer? Is that where this is going? Is that what they're going to allege? That this was done maliciously to ruin Hannah's career because of this discord earlier on set. I really, really, really hope that this is not the direction this is going in. Let's see if it is. This is why we do first looks together, because I'm reading this and you're getting my first reactions. The morning of this tragedy on October 21st, fellow Rust set employees Sarah Zachary and Nicole Montoya were the first people in the prop trailer. Sarah was already in the prop safe retrieving the firearms when Hannah arrived. Why? She's not the armorer. This was unusual. Oh, good. I'm not the only one thinking it. This was unusual, as Hannah was the person who typically retrieved the firearms from the safe by herself, because it seems like that's her job to do that. Oh, Lord. When Hannah arrived at the prop truck that same morning, she saw a box labeled Dummy Rounds 45LC, completely full, which someone had placed on top of Hannah's equipment bag. Hannah had not seen a full box of dummy rounds in weeks, nor was this full box on the equipment bag when Hannah had last been in the prop trailer. Upon information and belief, the dummy rounds and live rounds came from defendants. Sarah has since acknowledged in a report by the LA Times on November 20th that a new box of presumed 45 caliber long Colt dummy rounds appeared on set that day. From where and why? How how did the ammo get on set and who put it into the prop trailer? Someone put the box in the prop trailer. Oh my god. This is going to be bad. This is why there's an ongoing investigation still, cuz there's drama behind the scenes here that might provide motive is what I'm seeing. Wow. All right. The next paragraph said, Hannah exclaimed words to the effect of, "What is this?" The reason they say words to the effect of, and this is me speculating, is because what I'm sure Hannah said was something along the lines of, "What the fuck is this and where the fuck did it come from? And why the fuck are you touching the guns? That's not your job. Get the fuck away from my department." I'm sure that it was more colorful because she's already mad and one can't fault her for this. Hannah exclaimed words to the effect of, "What is this? We have been looking for a full box of dummy rounds for weeks. Where did this come from?" I'm sure they're downplaying the amount of fucks that were said in there, but I also understand that this is a lawsuit and that's fine. She said, "What the fuck is this? We've been looking for a box of dummy rounds for weeks. How did this just show up now? Where the fuck did this come from and who put it here?" Which is, I hear it. Sarah was the same person who had been bringing all the dummy ammo boxes onto set from defendants, but she did not respond as to where this full box came from after Hannah made her comments. Prop assistant Nicole simply giggled in response to Hannah's questions. Dude, who set up the armorer? Is my question. And again, lawsuits are allegations and shade, but also what they are alluding to in this lawsuit is not good at all. Wow. Props assistant Nicole simply giggled in response to Hannah's questions. No one in the prop truck acknowledged or claimed to be the source of the full box of 45 caliber long Colt dummy ammunition that morning. Hannah shook the box and heard a jingling sound, which is what a dummy round box should sound like. It was a busy morning, and Hannah was happy that they had a full box of dummy rounds to work with because Sarah, as prop manager, had brought dummy rounds to the set in the past as part of her duties. Hannah didn't think any more of it at the time. Around 7:30 a.m., Hannah noted that the video camera system and app that allowed the crew to watch scenes going on in real time and store content to the cloud, quote, Video Village, was down. As a result, Hannah was unable to view the various camera scenes and what they were filming. Village was always supposed to be up so that Hannah, makeup, and others on set could see what they when they were needed and follow what was going on with the film scenes as they were happening, for example, inside buildings. And we've heard that the buildings on set were close quarters, and we've heard that due to vid-19 precautions, they were trying to very much limit the amount of people inside those buildings while they were shooting. So I imagine that Video Village was essential. At approximately 10 a.m., Hannah, Sarah, and Nicole loaded Alec Baldwin's gun and two other guns for use in scenes that day, with dummy rounds from the full dummy round box found that morning in the prop truck. For Alec Baldwin's gun, Hannah loaded 4 dummy rounds with holes in them from her pants pocket, a 5th dummy round from the box with a hole in it, and an attempt to load a 6th dummy round with a hole in it from the box, but it would not go into the chamber, and she thought that the chamber might need to be cleaned. We heard this in the search warrant for Alec Baldwin's phone. In the search warrant, it talked about the interview with Hannah Guiterrez Reed and says essentially the same thing, that she tried to load a 6th and it was wonky. and that tried to clean it. Let's see if wonky pops up in here too, because it popped up in that search warrant. Hannah remembers shaking the 6th round to ensure herself that it was a dummy round. Sarah and Nicole helped load the other weapons and the bandoliers. They were all placed on the prop cart. No mention of wonky round. Hannah handed the gun to Alec Baldwin just after 10 a.m. and he had continuous possession of the gun with the 5 dummy rounds loaded into it until the set broke for lunch around 12:30. During this time, Baldwin was involved in various scenes. Hannah asked Baldwin approximately every 30 minutes if the scene cut, if Baldwin wanted to give her the gun back, and he said no. Hannah also sent Nicole over to ask Baldwin if he wanted to hand the gun back to her for holding, but Baldwin said no and that he was okay to continue holding it. When the set broke for lunch at 12:30, Baldwin gave his gun back to Hannah. Hannah, Sarah, and Nicole locked the guns back up in the prop truck inside gun socks. Gun socks provide an extra layer of protection for rifles and guns when traveling or in storage. The afternoon of the tragic shooting. When the 3 returned from lunch a little before 1:30, Sarah and Nicole pulled the guns out of the safe, and they and Hannah carried the guns and placed them back on the cart. Hannah had to step away for a brief period and asked Sarah and Nicole to watch the guns. When she came back, she noticed that the 2 had wandered some feet away and that the guns were unattended for perhaps 5 minutes. How do they assume it was 5 minutes? She doesn't know how long they wandered away. No one knows. She doesn't know. How would she have known? If she came back and they had been gone, how do you know how long they've been gone for? The questions I ask, because that's a conclusory statement. No one knows. Hannah remembered the chamber that she believed needed to be clean in Baldwin's gun, and she cleaned it, and then Hannah pulled another round from the dummy box, shook it, and placed it in the chamber. To the best of Hannah's knowledge, the gun was now loaded with 6 dummy rounds. Indeed, defendants as suppliers of prop and ammo to the Rust set sold, distributed, and advertised its props as dummy ammunition and not live rounds. Hannah relied upon and trusted that defendants would only supply prop ammunition or blanks, and no live rounds were ever to be on set. Assistant Director Halls told Hannah in her earpiece in a rushed fashion that Baldwin's gun was needed inside the church. Production was behind several hours because the camera crew had quit the night before. Apparently, this is also the cause of Video Village being down on October 21st. The camera crew quit the night before, but left their equipment behind. It's an awkward sentence. Instead, they opted to drive the long distance again in the morning to set, apparently to get their equipment. Curiously, the long distance drive was the main reason for them quitting in the first place. I don't know why any of that's relevant to this lawsuit, but okay. Hannah brought the gun to AD Halls inside the church. Hannah spun the cylinder for Halls and showed him the 6 loaded dummy rounds. Baldwin was not inside the church. Halls took custody of the weapon and was inside the church, sitting in a pew. There were multiple people inside the church. Production had emphasized to everyone on set that they would be adhering to the strictest of COVID-19 protocols, and Hannah was cognizant that the inside of the church was not a large space for a number of people inside. Hall said to Hannah that he would just be sitting in with the gun, meaning the gun wasn't going to be used at all since this wasn't a scene or rehearsal. Interesting. Hannah told Halls to let her know if Baldwin came back so that she could come back inside of the church and re-inspect the weapon and provide it to Baldwin herself, as she had done every time before on set. Her point was that if plans were going to change for use of the gun to be more than just sitting in status, Hannah needed to be called back into the church. On this set, Hannah had a split role as both armor and key assistant props. She had to fulfill both roles, frequently flitting. Is that the word we want to use in this lawsuit to describe a 24-year-old doing a professional job? Is flitting the word we use? Frequently flitting back and forth between the 2 sets of responsibilities. I'm just saying the use of flitting instead of rushing or being pulled gives the indication of someone who is light in care of their duties. Just like, oh, we're just flittering back and forth. It's a strange choice. Maybe that's just me being picky. Let me know if you think that's me being picky. It's a strange choice. Knowing that no gun scene was going on at the time, according to Halls, and with the awareness of the COVID-19 protocols and social distancing, Hannah then walked outside the church to prepare her fanny pack for scenes that afternoon and do some of her prop duties. Again, production was behind that day, and Hannah was acutely aware of the need to attend to her prop duties as well for scenes that afternoon. Therefore, Hannah did not see the weapon, nor did she have custody of it for approximately 15 minutes. Sometime in that approximately 15-minute period, A.D. Halls gave the firearm to Alec Baldwin, calling out cold gun, which signified that the firearm was empty or contained only inert dummy ammunition. Hannah was not inside the church and out of earshot and did not hear this called out by Halls. So how is this in your lawsuit? How do you know that that happened? There's reports that that happened, but this, you don't know that for sure. How do you know? How do you know that that is a fact? I am curious. After receipt of the firearm from Halls, Baldwin has stated that he begun practicing the cross draw from his shoulder holster and camera angles with Helena Hutchins for an upcoming scene. Yeah, he did say that in an ABC interview. No one from production, including Halls, told Hannah that Baldwin was back and that he was going to rehearse a gun scene inside the church. It was protocol for Halls to tell Hannah when first team, including Baldwin, was back on scene to film. This was not a scheduled rehearsal, and neither Halls nor anyone else called out a rehearsal. So what happened? Inside the church, as Alec Baldwin crossed through the firearm, he stated that Helena directed him to point the firearm at an angle that was pointed towards Helena, which he did. Are they pulling this from the ABC interview? Because they don't say where he said this. So are they now using Alec Baldwin's ABC interview as a part of their lawsuit? I'm so curious. Where did he say it? Where are we pulling the information from? Is it from that interview? I'm dying to know. This is why you don't give interviews. He said that Helena directed him to point the firearm at an angle that was pointed towards Helena, which he did. As Baldwin further described, he pulled the hammer back and let it go, and according to him, the gun just went off, firing what he later learned was a live round directly at Helena, fatally striking her. That is from the ABC interview. I've watched it enough and commented on it enough that that is exactly how he described that going down in the ABC interview, different than any other public comment I've seen him make. Had Hannah been called back in, she would have re-inspected the weapon and every round again and instructed Baldwin on safe gun practice with the cross draw, as was her standard practice on set and under circumstances where one, Baldwin did not respond to Helena's request, Baldwin did not respond to Hannah's request on October 15th to schedule cross-drawing training, and two, the gun had been out of her possession for 15 minutes. Hannah would never have let Baldwin point the weapon directly at Helena as part of a standard safe gun practices. Apparently, no one inside the church stopped Baldwin from doing so, including A.D. Halls. Well, let's hear about the aftermath of the shooting. The aftermath of the shooting. As the shot went off, Sarah, who was outside the church and near Hannah and the ammo cart, exclaimed, "What was that?" Hannah responded that she didn't know. Sarah then asked, "Was that the gun?" Hannah said it couldn't be the gun, and she believed it had to be special effects because Hannah knew in her mind that the gun was loaded with dummy rounds when she handed it to Halls. Thereafter, Hannah heard shouting in her earpiece and complete commotion. Hannah went inside the church, whereupon she saw Helena and Joel Souza lying on the ground, and they were bleeding. Reports from the Santa Fe Sheriff's Office revealed that there were 14 people total in the church at the time of the shooting, including Helena and Joel. Hannah was trying to make sense of a situation while people shouted for her to leave the church. It became apparent that a tragedy had occurred and that it had involved Alec Baldwin's weapon. Hannah ran outside the church and yelled back to Halls that she needed to take custody of the weapon and inspect it. Halls brought her the weapon and Hannah inspected it, finding the spent casing. This is more information than we got in the search warrant as well. This is the first time we're really getting much from Hannah because this is the lawsuit filed from her. At that point, Hannah was trying to figure out, it's the way they're writing this in parts is interesting. The way they're writing this is interesting. I'm going to leave it there. At that point, Hannah was trying to figure out if this had been a dummy round with a hot primer or possibly a live round inside the weapon. I don't know how you would know that from the casing, but there are people who are experts in this, and I am not one. At around 11:49 p.m., a call was made to 911 by Mamie Mitchell, whose lawsuit we've also covered on this channel and on the podcast. Law enforcement was dispatched to the scene at 1:52 p.m. Meanwhile, Hannah told Sarah to inspect the ammo box immediately to determine if there were any live rounds in the box. How's Sarah supposed to know? Sarah's not the armorer. How's Sarah supposed to know if there are live rounds or not? I'm lacking information on Sarah's expertise to check that box for ammo. I want to know why Hannah didn't make that call, because Hannah is the armorer. Hannah told Sarah to inspect the ammo box immediately and determine if there were any live rounds in it. Sarah returned from the prop cart within minutes and said that there were other suspected live rounds in the ammo box. Well, that's interesting. It's unclear how Sarah was able to make this determination so quickly, what her procedure was in checking the rounds, and how thoroughly she did so. Why was she asked to do it in the first place? At some point thereafter, Sarah told Hannah that she had called Seth Kinney and that he said that there were live rounds, or he said that the live rounds were not his. Where did this ammo box come from? Who brought this ammo box to set? Who loaded it? But there's a lot in here that is hearsay with no backing up. Hannah was upset. How does that go to any of these causes of actions? Hannah was upset, and art manager Brian who? Just Brian? No last name, just Brian. What up, B? Okay. Hannah was upset, naturally, and art manager Brian led her around another building out of view of the cart to console her. When Hannah reemerged to speak to authorities who had just arrived, she saw the cart had been moved about 40 feet to the other side of the church. It is unclear who moved the cart and for what reason. Well, it's clear it didn't get locked up before law enforcement got to it, which is also an interesting note that law enforcement will have to take into consideration in this investigation. Law enforcement response. After law enforcement and medics attended to the shooting victims, Helena and Joel, inside the church, the sheriffs then secured the scene and began collecting evidence. And we saw that because we saw the crime scene tape, the photos with the crime scene tape around a big bit of this set. In doing so, this is new information too. In doing so, they found a suspected 7 live rounds distributed inside the ammo box, on the ammo cart, and in the bandoliers. The live rounds had Starline brass casings with nickel primers. How did the live rounds get in the ammo box? Pictures taken from the scene by authorities on October 21st show that other guns and the ammo box were missing from the cart. How do they know that? Did law enforcement give you the photos? How do you know what's in the law enforcement photos? I have questions. Hannah wasn't sure if someone had taken some of the items from the prop cart to the prop truck after the shooting. So Hannah doesn't know what happened to everything after the shooting. Law enforcement did not search the prop truck until a full 6 days later on October 27th. Well, why? I got questions about that too. Why not? It's interesting because shortly after this, Hannah Guiterrez Reed's attorneys brought up the idea of sabotage. And now, seeing their lawsuit, we get an understanding of their perspective on how this went down. This leaves a lot of questions. It also leaves question as to why law enforcement didn't search the prop truck until 6 days later. Regarding that search of the prop truck, Catherine Rowe Walters, on behalf of production, told the sheriffs, how do you know what this person told the sheriffs? There is so much hearsay in here. How do you know what someone told law enforcement? But okay. Apparently this person on behalf of production told sheriffs that she would unlock the padlock placed on the truck for them. However, throughout production on the Rust set prior to the shooting, the prop truck was virtually always left unlocked and accessible by anyone. I don't know how that's relevant, but it should have been locked if it was pending law enforcement inspecting it. This adds a whole nother layer of questions to this entire incident. After the police had arrived on October 21st and before Helena had been pronounced deceased, Seth made a call to a police officer in Bullhead City, Arizona, named Officer Troy Tesk. Hi, Officer Troy. Good to see you in this lawsuit again. How does anyone who's writing this lawsuit know what Seth Keeney did? How do they have this information? Were they told by the officer? Were they told by Keeney? How do they know? Oh, this is how they know. Just kidding. Keep reading, Emily. Officer Tesk is best friends with Theo Reed. So this is like 4 layers of here. Okay. This is a lot of hearsay. So the assumption here is that Theo Reed, Hannah's father, or Hannah told the lawyers. It's reasonable to believe that the father might have told the lawyers this directly. But then the father's telling the lawyers what he was told by the officer and what the officer was told by Seth. So that's kind of a mess. During that call from Seth to Troy at 4:30 or 4:03 p.m. on October 21st, just hours after the shooting and before Helena had been pronounced deceased. Oh, sorry. I skipped. No, they're repeating it. Seth stated words to the effect, when you have to explain, this is a lot of hearsay. Seth stated words to the effect that to Troy that Hannah had messed up. So Hannah's dad or Hannah told the lawyers that Seth called Troy and that Troy said that Hannah messed up. Again, leading to this illusion. But when it sounds like a junior high game of telephone, that's how you know you're in the realm of a lot of hearsay. When Seth told Troy and Troy told Theo and then Theo told the lawyers, or Theo told Hannah and then Hannah told the lawyers, that's a lot. But this statement they seem to be using to support this illusion that perhaps they were trying to ruin Hannah's reputation. That is the impression that this is leaving with me, which again, this is being written to the light most favorable to Hannah by her lawyers, and these are allegations. How and why Seth came to this almost immediate conclusion that Hannah had, quote, messed up and offered it up unsolicited to Troy is neither understood or yet to be explained or clarified. Oh, I just speculated about it. Because how would he know? But it's a good question. How would he know so fast? What happened? How does the person who provided the ammo know so fast that there's a mess up? Troy felt the call was very unusual. How do we know how Troy felt? Troy's not a party to this lawsuit. How do we know how Troy feels? Who did Troy tell he felt this way? Theo? Okay. Troy felt the call was very unusual in that Seth had made one of his first calls to him right after the incident. Seth told Troy only through Theo. Seth knew Troy only through Theo from prior movie sets. How do we know any of that is fact? It was suspect to Troy. How do we know it's suspect to Troy? Oh my God. I cannot. This isn't a lawsuit. Yes, it's giving us more information, but it's also so many layers of hearsay and speculation that it's hard to, it's hard. It was suspect to Troy that Seth, this feels like trying to tell a story when my kid comes home from school in 8th grade and was like, okay, so at lunch, like Sarah said to Vlad that blah, 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 blah. And I'm trying to follow along, but there's a lot of names and I'm trying to follow the story. And I'm like, wait, who said what to who now? That's how this is feeling right now. Who said what to who? Okay. Seth knew Troy only through Theo from prior movie sets. So they're saying, you don't even go here? Or like, you're not even friends like that. I think they're trying to set up that Seth and Troy aren't even friends like that, and they met through Thiel. So Troy and Thiel are besties, and Seth is an outsider. So why is Seth calling Troy to say that Hannah messed up? It's like, why are you calling to dime out somebody else's kid? Maybe that's where we're going. It was sus to Troy that Seth almost immediately was implicating Hannah right after the incident without any firsthand information about the incident. How do you know that? How do you know that Seth didn't have any firsthand information? That is an assumption. How do you know that? Also, for those of you just listening and not watching along with what's on the screen, it doesn't say sus, it says suspect. I occasionally will substitute that when I feel that the incident calls for it. And it's not that I'm not completely empathetic to the fact that Hannah Guiterrez Reed is part of this investigation, and that I'm sure there's things that went on that are weighing on her heavily, but a lawsuit full of things that are speculative and can't be proven might not help. And how Troy felt about what Seth said feels like a game of telephone. And who's making the assumption that Seth had no firsthand information? Who is assuming that? I mean, it might be a proper assumption, but it's an assumption. We're just pointing out things as we read them. I should note that when there was a search warrant issued for Baldwin's phone, there were also search warrants issued with regard to the prop house. And I feel like I'm just going to need to pull that up, and we're going to need to go through that too. Right? Do we? I think we do. I think we need to go through that search warrant as well. So stay tuned. Not today. Don't worry, mods. Not today. Seth repeatedly called Troy over the next 2 weeks. He also texted Troy. In total, there were over 20 calls and texts that Seth made to Troy. Why? What do you think an Arizona police officer is going to do for you? During one of these later calls that we have no idea how we know what was said. During one of these later calls on November 1st, Seth was with the sheriff's lead investigator. He called Troy to ask if Troy could send some of Thiel's live reloaded rounds that originally came from a known reloader who specializes in reloading rounds. How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? That said reloader like 4 times. And it's making it hard to follow. Seth, the prop master or the prop house, called Troy, the police officer in Arizona, to ask Troy to send some of Hannah Guiterrez Reed's father's live reloaded rounds that originally came from a known reloader who specializes in reloading rounds. Seth also texted Troy to ask if he had any live reloaded rounds with nickel primers and if he could send some of those. Seth had become aware that Thiel kept reloaded rounds at Troy's house for safekeeping. How does anyone know any of that? And is this part of the search warrant? Is that why they were looking for reloaded rounds? Upon information and belief. Oh, now we get to the upon information and belief. Seth was attempting, upon information and belief, we think this is what Seth was doing. Seth was attempting to match one of Thiel's reloaded rounds to the live rounds retrieved on the Rust set. How would Seth have had access to any of the live rounds on the Rust set unless it came with the investigator and the investigator saying, look, this is what I'm looking for? But how would the lawyers for Hannah Guiterrez Reed know what happened when the investigators were at Seth's business in New Mexico? How do we know any of this? They're saying that they believe Seth was attempting to match one of Hannah's father's reloaded rounds to the live rounds retrieved on the Rust set. If there was a match, presumably Seth sought to shift blame to Hannah and connect her to those rounds through her father's rounds kept at Troy's house. Seth took it upon himself to essentially investigate this matter for the sheriff's office and insert himself into this matter by attempting to implicate Hannah. Troy did not send any rounds to Seth. He did text pictures of samples of 4 rounds from his house to Seth, one of which included the Starline brass head stamp markings, which have the same distinct markings as the Starline brass rounds seized from the Rust set. but also the Starline Brass were talked about in the search warrant. In fact, the actual live round casing that was the fatal shot had a Starline Brass head stamp. Seth texted back, and again, they're going to have these texts. Law enforcement will have these in their investigation. And I imagine that these attorneys have these texts because Troy is friends with Hannah's dad. I imagine that he would have provided his side of these text messages to Hannah's lawyers. That's just me speculating. Seth tested back, quote, "Yep, it's evidence in the accidental death." So is Seth, oh man, they're trying to say that Seth is trying to shift blame. Like, we have a whole ass game of Clue going on in this complaint, or at least reading it, that's what it feels like. And I am not trying to downplay. A woman was killed based on something that happened that seems like it's nothing less than negligence, but might be worse than that. And this feels like a game of he said, she said, Clue of what is going on in a lawsuit where a lot of this is about advertising. As we get to the causes of action, we're going to get to the fact that some of this isn't going to be directly relevant to those causes of action. Part of this is a PR. I think part of this is a PR strategy to get Hannah Guiterrez Reed's side of the story out there. And lawsuits are allegations and shade, and we know they're often used to get a story out there. But when we get to the causes of action, just ask yourself, how does this match? Because now Seth is talking about the investigation for the accidental death. And this is before, is there even a date these texts were happening? I'm trying to track back, and it doesn't look like there's dates for any of this, which, you know how I feel about a lawsuit without dates in it. It's all trillery when you don't put dates. What date were these texts? It was right around December 16th that those search warrants were issued for the prop house and for Alec Baldwin's phone. It's hard to tell when this happened because there's no dates. It said some of the later calls were on November 1st. So I am making the assumption, though it's not clear from this lawsuit, that these are in and around early November before the search warrant came down for the prop house. Okay, so after Seth texted back, yep, quote, "Yep, it's evidence in an accidental death," essentially linking the Starline brass marking of the live round seized by law enforcement on set to the Starline brass markings in Troy's pictures. Yet Seth possessed hundreds of Starline brass rounds from Theo Reed in the ammo can that he took from Theo on the previous movie set, all of which are now unaccounted for. Oh, there's missing rounds, they say. You say there's missing rounds, and there's another text message, with somebody's number on it. Hold on. Lawyers, when you're putting in photos of text messages, don't include someone's whole ass cell phone number. Just block it out. This is public record. Just I don't care if you don't like the person. Don't do that. I will black this out before I go over this again. But I am going to show the photos and then I'll scoot past this. So it's got a photo of rounds that are stamped. It's kind of blurry in the lawsuit. And then it says, "I checked a bunch of the rounds. These are the 4 different types that I could find." And then the text back saying, "Yep, it's evidence in the accidental death." And then saying, okay. So these are texts between Troy, the officer from Arizona, and Seth, the prop house. Let me scoot past this and resize real quick. All right. Defendant's attempts to shift blame. Oh, well, okay. We've speculated correctly. Keep reading. Defendants attempts to shift blame and responsibility from themselves. On November 3rd, 2021, counsel for Hannah went on the Today Show and Good Morning America on behalf of Hannah. indicated that they believed the Rust set had been sabotaged and that someone introduced live rounds on set. It's like I remembered accurately. On that same day, on November 3rd, Seth texted Troy, Seth Prop House, Troy, law enforcement officer in Arizona that's friends with Hannah's dad, again blaming Hannah for the, quote, accidental shooting. Thereafter, later in November 2021, Seth Keeney texted Hannah and attempted to have her drop her claims of sabotage and instead cooperate with the police and implicate A.D. Halls as being the person responsible for the tragedy. Wait, what? No. Do not tell me there are text messages from the person at the prop house saying, look, let's get together and blame so-and-so. Oh my God. I see another image coming up below. Oh, we're going to read this text. Oh my. Oh, the plot thickens? All right. Later in November 2021, Seth texted Hannah an attempt to have her drop her claims of sabotage and to instead cooperate with police and implicate A.D. Halls as being the person responsible for the tragedy. We now know from statements from Santa Fe law enforcement that Hannah and Halls have both turned over their phones to law enforcement. So law enforcement has this information. Seth suggested that A.D. Halls had essentially bullied Hannah and not allowed her to do her job safely. Wasn't Seth the one that told her not to complain? Because we saw that screenshot earlier. Seth stated that if she would shift blame to Halls, he would, quote, have her back. Oh, fucking hell. Let's read the screenshot. And this seems to be between Seth and Hannah. The blue bubble, so I'm assuming that's Hannah's side of the conversation, said, come forward for what? Question mark. What should I be confessing to? Question mark. And then it says, quote, this is quoting from the screenshot of the text message, quote, go and talk to the police. Tell them everything. Answer every question down to what you had for breakfast. You're young, certainly not green or inexperienced with period weapons, but did you get rolled over by the set system and the AD with 30 plus years of experience? Question mark. I think you did, and you're too proud to say that. Had you been partnered up with a truly professional AD, none of this would have happened. That true professional would have supported your safe efforts. Instead, you got David, quote, reckless, end quote, Halls. No AD is ever to touch a gun. How many times had he grabbed guns from you? Question mark. If he did it once before and you didn't kick his teeth in, you got rolled. Had you ever watched your dad hand off guns to an AD? Question mark. You're tough, but there's always someone out there that's more intimidating. Who are you to question him? Question mark. Please think about this. Take some time. I am shook. Because the prior screenshot was Seth telling her to drop it when she was trying to say that Sarah had mishandled the gun. And now he's trying to turn it back around on, oh, but wasn't it the AD's fault? Oh, shit. Oh. And this would have been not that long after. Let's see. This would have been not that long after because it was October 21st that the incident happened and she interviewed with police. So this would have been like maybe they say later in November. So around a month later, he's saying, go back and talk to the police again. Cause we know there's more texts. Cause we know she'd already spoken with police at least once. Okay, there's more texts. All right, these don't have phone numbers in them. Let's pull them back up. Seth also texted Theo Reed. He texted her dad. Seth also texted Theo Reed and essentially suggested that he get Hannah to drop claims of sabotage and not let Hannah drag himself or Theo into this. These are texts from Seth. There was nothing to be gained by Hannah and her attorneys dragging me into this. If anything, the DA may perceive this as an unapologetic scapegoat tactic and lower the boom even harder. Like, boom goes the dynamite? Like, what boom? And lower the boom even harder. You and I will be collateral damage in this tragedy and approach. It makes no sense. How do you know what the DA is thinking? Seth, these texts don't look good. Oh my, okay. They say by this point, Seth, who had no official role in an investigation, had made multiple attempts to direct the investigation and to cast blame on a variety of people and deflect scrutiny from himself. I wonder what the DAs are going to think about whether or not Seth was interfering with the investigation with this behavior. Because the ammo of it all aside, is Seth messing with or tampering with an investigation by trying to apparently manipulate what people say to police? It will be very interesting to see how this all shakes out when the investigation's completed. I just wonder if they will see it that way too. It's very, very sus as laid out in this with screenshots of text messages. But again, screenshots could be sus or faked. But the investigators have the phone. So the investigators have the phones, so they will know. So let me just restate because I tangented. At this point, Seth, who had no official role in the investigation, had made multiple attempts to direct the investigation and to cast blame on a variety of people and deflect scrutiny from himself. The day after the shooting, Theo Reed was set to fly out from Las Vegas, Nevada, to get his daughter Hannah in Albuquerque. While in Albuquerque, Theo also wanted to retrieve the ammo can and live rounds that Seth had taken from him on the prior movie set in August or September 2021. Okay. Theo had only told Seth, Hannah, and Troy about his flight. Strangely, when he got to the airport, American Airlines told Theo that Theo Reed had called to cancel his flight. Theo said, "That's impossible. I'm Theo Reed. I never called." Wow. So Theo said he only told his daughter, Troy, the police officer, and Seth about his flight. And more mysteriously, his flight got canceled. The airline was able to rebook him on a later flight, but it pushed him back a day. It was apparent to Theo, It was apparent to Theo that defendant Seth Kinney had been the one who called to cancel his flight in an apparent attempt to thwart his plans to come to Albuquerque or at least delay them. Neither Troy nor Hannah made the call canceling the flight, nor did Theo himself. Again, this is a lot of speculation, but it's a civil lawsuit and they are telling their side of the story. I feel like I need to constantly say lawsuits are allegations and shade, but oh my. When Theo got to Albuquerque, he proceeded to Seth's house, PDQ Arm and Prop location. Is it the same? Is he running the business out of his home? Because it says Seth's house / PDQ Arm and Prop. Unlike every other time Theo had come, Seth did not invite him into his house. When Theo asked for his ammo can back, Seth said for him to just, quote, write it off, and that he would use the rounds on other sets. Theo agreed, and Seth maintained possession of the ammo can and rounds. Interesting. Upon execution of a search warrant on PDQ Arm and Prop about 4 weeks later, authorities found, how do you know what they found? And how can you attest to that in a lawsuit? Authorities found the ammo can belonging to Theo, but it was empty of live rounds. There is no explanation as to where the remainder of the live rounds went or what Seth did with them. How do they know? Theo has identified this ammo can as being his. Well, I imagine law enforcement reached out to him and asked. Theo would testify that Hannah never had is there a declaration attached? Because you can't just say that is there a declaration from Thiel attached? Because what there aren't is any cites to a declaration that say that. Hold on, what page are we on? We're on page 19. Is there a declaration? I don't see one. You can't just say that. Have a declaration from these people that you're basing this lawsuit off of. I'm done ranting. Okay. Thiel would testify that Hannah never had access nor possession of the live, reloaded Starline brass rounds that were found on the Rust set, but that Seth took hundreds of the live Starline brass rounds with him in the ammo can from a prior set. Troy would testify, maybe include declarations. Troy would testify that Hannah never had access to the reloaded live rounds kept at his house for Thiel Reed. Troy can verify that he gave the ammo can containing live rounds to Thiel in August to go to his movie shoot. All of this should be told to law enforcement. Troy also would relate that Hannah learned of Seth's false accusations regarding her insulting Sarah with a derogatory name. How does that matter for any of this? Hannah was baffled as to why Seth would make this allegation up, and Hannah denied ever doing so. Okay. Defendant Seth Kinney has denied ever being on the set of Rust, but somehow had the code to the prop truck safe that Hannah had purchased for production. How do we know that? How do we know that? How do we know that? How do we know that he had the code to the prop truck safe? How do we know? Hannah never gave him the code, but it sounds like Sarah and the other chick who giggled had the code. Seth was on set supposedly for the first time ever when the warrant was served on the prop truck 6 days after the shooting on October 27th to help the sheriffs get into the safe. Oh, isn't that interesting? But how do you know that? It is unknown who gave him the code to the production safe. Well, it's probably Sarah. We can assume that. Contrary to the truth, they say, upon information and belief. Okay. Seth told law enforcement that it was his prop safe. It was the production's safe, and Hannah purchased it and has a copy of the receipts to prove this. This should all be going through the investigation. This he said, she said of it all is all part of the investigation. Tell this all to law enforcement. Why is this all in this civil suit right now? Defendant Keeney had access to the Rust set, knowledge of the code of the prop safe, and with his company, PDQ Arm and Prop, and his company, PDQ Arm and Prop, was the primary supplier of guns and ammo on the Rust set. Upon information and belief, after the October 16th accidental discharge by Sarah Zachary, defendant Seth Kinney said he never wanted to work with Hannah again. The live reloaded Star Brass rounds, upon information and belief, originated from a known reloader and then went to Thiel Reed and into the Thiel Reed ammo can to defendant Seth Kinney. Seth Kinney had a long-standing relationship with the reloader. Seth Kinney apparently believed that the rounds found on set connected back to the rounds from the reloader, which is why he made the calls to Troy right after the shooting incident, requesting Troy send him live round samples. Count 1, violation of New Mexico's Unfair Trade Practices Act. None of what did we just read that has anything to do with unfair trade practices? The unfair methods of competition and unfair and deceptive acts or practices. How is anything we read an unfair business practice? Is anything in those facts related to an unfair business practice? Help me. I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing the unfair business practice. Let's see what they said. These acts include representation of a particular standard, that props were dummy rounds and safe and effective products for use on a movie set, when in fact they were unsafe live rounds and never should have been on a movie set. Such representations were untrue and false and misleading. But okay. Defendants provided ammo boxes with 45 Colt dummy labels. The ammunition box failed to state a material fact that contents contained both dummy and live ammo. Such was a deceptive practice. Okay. Creation of a dangerous condition, strict product liability. Okay, maybe on this one. Defendants are in the business of putting prop dummy ammunition into the market. The ammunition was misrepresented as only dummy ammo when it contained both dummy and live ammo. Okay, so there's your strict products liability. I didn't think we'd get to products liability on this channel like ever, but here we are with products liability. Defendants in turn failed to provide any warnings as to this potentially dangerous condition that they created. So their their causes of action are saying that Seth Kinney, the prop house, intentionally put live rounds into these boxes labeled as dummy rounds. That is what they're alleging. So they're using those facts to support their allegations that he put live rounds into these boxes. Strict product liability, false and deceptive product labels, and false material representations. This is going along the same allegations. Breach of contract. How is a breach of contract with her, though? How did the prop house breach a contract with Hannah Guiterrez Reed? Wouldn't the contract have been with production? I'm just saying. Plaintiff and defendants had an oral contract to share proceeds for prop and armor work on the Old Way movie set filmed in Montana, also in 2021 before Rust. What? You're suing breach of contract on an oral contract from another movie set that has nothing to do with Rust? Are you kidding me? Why? And what in the world, in the facts, none of the facts talk about the other movie set. What is happening? Am I hallucinating? Maybe I'm hungry. What is this breach of contract count? What is this? An oral contract. Come on. Plaintiff and defendants had an oral contract to share proceeds for prop and armor work on the Old Way movie set filmed in Montana in 2021 before Rust. Seth acknowledged in a text message the validity of this agreement. Plaintiff also rented leathers and guns. I'm reading this verbatim. Plaintiff also rented leathers and guns to this set on production. Okay. Loaned them? Rented them out to, I guess is what they mean. These were rented through defendants on an invoice to production. Payment has been made to defendants by the movie set for the Old Way, and plaintiff is owed over $10,000 for her payment and rental of the leathers and guns. There were no facts in the facts section of this that had anything to do with this. Okay. Payment has been made to defendants for the movie. Hannah Guiterrez Reed is saying she's owed $10,000 for payment and for renting. Was she renting leathers and guns to the set? What? What is isn't he the prop house? This whole section is confusing AF. And if you're like, Emily, I'm confused. Same boo, same. I am confusion. Defendant has not paid plaintiff Hannah Guiterrez Reed her monies owed for the prior set. They're like, all right, we're throwing this in too. Defendant is liable for payment of the money owed. Good luck enforcing an oral contract. I don't know what the laws around oral contract are in New Mexico, but if it is backed up into text messages, in text, we've seen a lot of text screenshots, but not this one. Also, there are no affidavits attached and a lot of multiple layers of hearsay and speculation in this, but not a lot of dates and no receipts. There's a few receipts. That's not true. There's a few receipts. Jury trial demanded. That was an adventure I didn't expect to take today. On that first look, I did not expect it to be all of that. That is a lot of new information. I will probably clip this part down and also put it on the podcast because this is a lot going on in this lawsuit. We're going to be following this and the litigation that ensues. But I think, if anything, this lawsuit got Hannah Guiterrez Reed's side of the story out into the public. And while that is not the primary goal, I don't think that's not a secondary goal of this lawsuit. This lawsuit got a story told. It sure did. There's a lot of information. There's a lot of allegations. There's a lot of speculation, shade. There's a lot of hearsay. You need a chart. You need photos with string. Wow. That was a lot. We're almost 3 hours in. We should do a few questions. Thank you, mods, for writing. The mods are like, I remember back in the day when we did 2-hour streams. And then Emily decided she wanted to cover Cardi B and Tasha K and a whole ass other lawsuit in one stream. Yes, I'm sorry. I appreciate all of you. Mods, you are so great. I'm going to answer a few questions. I'm going to try to get to some of the super chats. I saw them coming in and I missed a lot of them. I don't have words. Wow. Also, we should be binging soon. We should be binging soon. We're very close to 194,000. If you haven't liked and subscribed, do the things. We're going to have to clip this down too. This rust is going to be a very interesting. If this is what they're telling law enforcement behind the scenes, this is going to be a very interesting investigation because now we're getting a peek at to what's going on in this investigation because a lot of this is stuff they should have told law enforcement as well, and I'm sure that they did. But these are text messages of like, the prop house guy is trying to frame everybody. Like, it feels like that's what they're trying to allege. The allegations in this lawsuit are fucking wild. What's up, Adam McIntyre? Good to see you. All right, Wow. When this tragedy happened, I was like, oh, that's awful. But if we see, now we have the perspective of discord going on behind the scenes within the props department. And if we see that they were trying to ruin Hannah's career by intentionally doing some of this, leading to death, if the police can prove that, there will be some criminal charges. But wowzers, that was a lot. I'm going to get to some of the back super chats that I missed. We're beyond gloss. We just need lip gloss. I really like this lip gloss. This is not lip gloss. This is like a chapstick, like hydration Laneige. I love Laneige. It comes with a little handle thing so I don't have to stick my fingernails in it because I'm kind of loving these long nails. But this lawsuit does not have a lot of dates. It's kind of a mess. It definitely tells their side of the story. But none of the facts address the oral contract. There's no declarations attached that say the things. Yeah. The lack of dates is tough. I don't know if they think they're going to win that lawsuit. But they're like, we have a cause of action, do it. Wow. I haven't seen a lot of reporting about it either. That Hannah Guiterrez Reed filed a lawsuit. I don't know why I haven't seen reporting. If anybody read that, they would be reporting. Maybe people are like, we're not doing that. All right. Cynthia said, I am a member 1 year, will not let me comment. Cynthia, I am sorry, but congratulations on a year. Yay. Bling is the new black. Good to see you. Said, hey, from Dallas. Veronica Savage said, oh my God, hello. I just wanted to say you're amazing. Well, thank you. Thank you for super chatting for that. Fantastic. Thank you. Laura S., thank you for the super sticker. Mama Trees said, I want to friend you in Pokemon Go, Emily. Thank you. DM me. I may or may not see it. I try to add people. I don't always do well at that. Casacopria Crow, I think I said that horribly. For whatever you said that got the video demonetized. I mean, who knows at this point? I said things. Maybe I said Cardi B and that's what happened. Ashley Vincent, catnip tip, thank you. I have to leave in 5 minutes, asking for law and prayers. This is a chemo week for those, and those are always rough. Always sending you love and thoughts, Ashley. I know you will see this, and I will let you know in our mod chat as well. Southern Nana said, love your shows, full of great info and so entertaining. Thank you. You're my kind of gal. Thanks for your time. You invest to keep us informed with the legals. We definitely do invest time and money. When I sit down with my accountants for 2021, I definitely want to know how much I spent on court documents because I'm curious. Larry and Crystal said, you can't check dummy rounds by shaking the box. You need to shake each one round individually. If you shake 9 rattles 2 together, you wouldn't know one didn't work. That's an excellent point. The Manic Candace podcast said, hey, possibly future topic. People were contacted about a class action lawsuit against a fintech company, Plaid Inc. I'll take a look. I know a lot of the things I use plaid, so I will take a look at that for sure. Janae Peterson said, "I hope you cover the lawsuit against YouTuber Piper Rockel's mother, brought by nine underage members of Piper's squad. The allegations are devastating." I briefly saw allegations. I will take a look. Sometimes we need a break from the dark stuff, so I will take a look. We are definitely going to get to a few more questions, and then I've got to scoot. I actually am hungry. My stomach just went "Wah." For sure. Thank you for the questions. Question. Oh, let me make this bigger. Question: Can Tasha K claim she's purely entertainment channel and claim free speech like comedians and say she's not a journalist and win her lawsuit? So the things she's saying are not mere hyperbole. The context is going to matter, but when we went through the things she said from the reporting, Tasha K said, "I knew these were lies." So, it's there is a line when it comes to defamation, and things that are clearly hyperbole, like Ethan Klein saying he rather get a colonoscopy from a chain link fence than use the Triller app, is clear hyperbole. Um, uh, some name calling someone an asshole. Obviously, they're not a literal asshole. Saying someone is a bottom feeder. Obviously, they're not a lobster or other type of bottom feeding crustacean. Things like that are hyperbole. But saying as fact that someone has an STI is not in that same realm of comedy. So I don't think that those claims will fly, particularly in light of her videos. So they will watch her videos and say, are these videos, how do they seem to me? The jury will watch the videos. How do these statements seem to me? And they'll get to decide that. They're the finders of fact. So that's a great question. Thank you. Tempest 2004 said, question regarding jurors on all cases. Can jurors take notes for discussion later because I would not remember? Yes, generally jurors are given little notepads and paper where they can take notes and they can refer to them later. There's a jury instruction regarding rely on your memory, not your notes. Rely on how you remember it. But yes, they are allowed to take notes. I've very rarely seen courts say no, that they can't. EHC Bunny said Hannah's family used that civil suit as a press release. Litigation privilege is an amazing thing. Things you say in a lawsuit is covered by litigation privilege, meaning even if it's false, it's not defamatory. Could it come up in court in other ways? Yes. Could it get dismissed? Yes. I don't know what this isn't really an anti-SLAPP situation because they're going after business practices, saying that the ammo can was labeled wrong, and those are business practice issues. So it's not going to be a SLAPP situation because it's not about statements. Question: Can Cardi B get money that Tasha K made from those videos? Yes. She can also get punitive damages. Cardi B stands to win a bit of money, but yes, she can get that. And if they subpoenaed YouTube, which I imagine that they did, because they said that they had evidence of how much or how well those videos did. So I imagine they subpoenaed the statistics of the back of Tasha K's channel from YouTube. They would be able to see how much in AdSense she got off those videos, because you can see how much AdSense breaks down to each video. So yes, she could get that. Yes, she could also get punitive damage, which are the punishment ones, like, hey, this sucks, you can't do that, here's money to prevent you from doing it further. And generally, if somebody is disliked by a jury, those punitive damages can go up. So if the jury found that Tasha K's behavior was just gross, just flat out awful, and they're watching these videos going, you're saying in a video, according to this recording, you're saying in a video that you knew that it was lies and you did it anyway, they can ramp those punitive damages up. So that is a very real possibility for Tasha K. Fatal Exposition said, Cardi versus Tasha. 3 hours in, and your girl cannot talk. So wait, Tasha K openly admitted that she will tell blatant lies on her channel just for views, and she thought this would go well. I'm also confused. It's wild. Question: The Russ civil suit only asked for 6 jurors. Why is that? You don't need a 12-person panel. It's not set like in criminal, so they can ask for a smaller panel. And you don't need a unanimous jury. So that might be standard to New Mexico. That might just be a practice where you can ask for 6 or 12, and saying, hey, we don't need a lot. Question, why would Tasha K decide to testify? Couldn't she have pleaded the fifth? Sophia, thank you for asking. The Fifth Amendment against your right of self-incrimination generally does not attach in civil suits unless the behaviors are also relating to a pending criminal matter. And then you can only take the fifth because that right only attaches to criminal prosecution. This is a civil suit. She is a defendant. She has to testify if called to testify. Cardi B's lawyers called her to testify. She can't just say no. And she's probably already given a deposition in the case as well. So no, she can't say no. If there was criminal behavior that was pending, she could say, I will not answer that question for this reason. And the judge would determine on a question by question basis. Generally, if there were criminal proceedings, which there are not here, but if there were in another case, that would be decided in pretrial motions, or the civil case would resolve to protect the person that's undergoing criminal. It would be like if a victim of Jen Shah was suing her civilly for the loss of whatever they paid for whatever online thing, and Jen has a civil lawsuit from a victim against her and then the criminal lawsuit, then she couldn't testify in the civil suit until the criminal suit was over, because it is a right against self-incrimination, and that is in the criminal context. Great question. Thank you so much. Bunny at Suko said, I'm so glad I made this live. Your reaction to this lawsuit was the freaking best. You are awesome. Love your channel and content. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Question, would you cover the Drake hot sauce packet lawsuit? I haven't read it yet, possibly. We have some other stuff to get to that I'm hoping to get to for Friday, but possibly. It feels like maybe a quick bits for me. It'll be interesting to say. Question, did Tasha technically admit to extortion blackmail? Isn't that illegal? From the reporting, it seems like that's a possibility, but nobody seems to be investigating it. I don't know if they would, but it depends really on context. If like, oh, you want me to take it down, pay me. I mean, would that fit squarely within blackmail? I would need to pull up the definition in Georgia, because it's not like, oh, give me money or do this, or I'm going to release something. It's like, I'm already releasing it, but I'm not backing down. So I would need to, I would need to look at the exact statement in context, and B, I would need to look at Georgia's statute, because there's a difference between, well, if you want me to take it down, pay me. And if you want me to not say this and not have it go up, then pay me. They're different circumstances. Hopefully that makes sense. Question, is it appropriate to throw these allegations out in a lawsuit when there is an ongoing investigation? I mean, they can do what they want. The investigation doesn't stop the civil from moving forward. They're two completely different systems. So no. Is it inappropriate? No. Is it ill-advised? I mean, they've got years to bring these allegations. There might have been, this might have been strategic. We'll see. But you're allowed to bring civil suits while there's an ongoing investigation. There's 2 others already. And just because Alec Baldwin in his ABC interview feels that nobody should bring civil suits, he doesn't get to make that determination. And there are already the civil suits from Mamie Mitchell and from the Key Grip that was standing right next to Helena. So those are already going on. So, question, you said Tasha K could lose her channel over her behavior. Why or how would that happen? If she loses this suit, I would not be surprised if Cardi B's legal team went to YouTube and said, look, we now have a jury verdict showing that this was going on your platform. These videos didn't come down. This is her testimony. What are you going to do about it? And online harassment and defamations against TOS. So YouTube could make that choice that the statements violate TOS or just take down the offending videos. But I think Cardi B will pursue it. That's my speculation. So how do I think that would happen? I think Cardi B's lawyers would pursue it if she wins this trial. So, Mark said Cardi B should sue YouTube. That's where the real money she can collect is at. Sorry, Mark. That is a non-starter due to Section 230. YouTube is a platform and cannot be sued for the behavior of the creators on the platform. Apologies, but that can't happen. Question, can Hannah be charged with tampering with evidence since she inspected the gun after the incident? They would have to prove that she tampered with something. It's clear from the search warrant for Alec Baldwin's phone that she told law enforcement she inspected it and what she said. So I don't think that that's tampering. Tampering implies that you've moved something or done something. I think she was acting in the course of and scope of her employment, and she was truthful with law enforcement about that. So I don't think that's a problem. Whether the, prop house dude texting everybody trying to align their stories is a problem is a whole different analysis. Question, can you touch on Todd, Chrisley, and KJ? Not today. I have in the past. I need to take a look back and see. I think they're moving towards discovery in that lawsuit. So I covered the lawsuit. I think there were motions filed that I need to cover. We've just been moving forward. So we've been moving on. There's a lot of other stuff to cover, which I think has been really, really interesting. And let's see. Question, when are you giving a Toddy update? Soon. Stuff keeps coming up. Soon. That case has been moving along, but some of this stuff is popping up more urgently. So soon. I don't know if it will be Friday. Maybe it will be Friday. We'll see. There's a lot going on, but we will see. So maybe. Question, will we get an update tomorrow? I believe they have court tomorrow, and there's a Britney hearing tomorrow as well. So we will see. Miss Zeppelin, this is our final comment for today. Your husband was concerned you'd run out of content. Yes, and now I need to duplicate myself or do more streams so my streams aren't 3 hours long. We got to figure out a way to either do shorter streams or just do longer streams and cover it because it's so much to cover. All right. I said last one, and then I wanted to answer this one. Do you have a whiteboard with all the cases you're covering and the various statuses? If not, you need one. I have a whiteboard. It's pink. I haven't gotten to put them up yet, but I have running documents on what I'm covering, and I tend to put their court dates in my calendar as well. So that is a lot. Wow. I can't wait to hear what you thought of everything today. It's so great seeing you all in the chat. Thank you. A huge thank you to the mods for this super long stream. Thank you for being a law nerd. Thank you for being here. Stay hydrated and mind your business. Going to drink water and mind my business. I'm sorry. I've been watching TikTok. A lot. Did you see about Britney's sister and what she said? No, I haven't watched it yet, but when I will probably do. And I have thoughts episode about Jamie Lynn's multiple interviews because I haven't watched any of them yet. I played a lot of Exploding Kittens yesterday with G. So that's what we were doing. If you have not liked and subscribed yet, do that. Stay hydrated, stay healthy. May the odds be ever in your favor. Thank you for being a law nerd. You can follow me around the interwebs at the Emily D. Baker, and I appreciate you. It's time to go. Huge thank you to the mods, and I will see you guys on Friday for Friday Night Live. If you're watching this on the replay crew, all of these cases I'm talking about have playlists, and there's plenty more to deep dive on. Talk to you soon. Connect with me everywhere. I'm at the Emily D. Baker. If you guys want to join the text, just text Emily.com. If you want to join the channel, lawnerdsunite.com. Happy to have you. Support what we do here on the YouTube.